Okay, I think we're operational. I believe it's working. It is true. It is true. We did encounter a strange weather related anomaly prior to entering today's portal as we were rolling in. It's like all of a sudden it's cold. I don't know how that happened. I didn't know it got cold in this part of Florida, but my lord. Or maybe it's just here because every now and then I'll start doing a session or just some I'll be sitting here and it's like this really crazy cold wave will roll through. And I guess if you want to go back to the old days of paranormal TV shows, supposedly when you feel really cold, that means there's a ghost, right? Does it? Does it? I don't know. But yeah, no, that is a weird thing that happens. I wouldn't call it a negative thing. A part of me does sort of think it is in some way a kind of a spiritual or a non-physical interaction. We'll say everything doesn't have to be spiritual. Maybe it's just a non-physical wave of energy. But it definitely happens. And so come on in, everybody. Greetings. We're just gonna spread this around a little bit here. Kind of warming up the zone. Roll in. Let us know how you're doing. What part of the world are you in? What part of the galaxy are you in? Yeah. I believe it is currently November. I want to say it's November 16th, 2022, which some of you will think I'm being humorous. And am I wrong? Is that not the date? I think it is. One of these days I will be literally wrong, but it's all of the days kind of blend in. They all kind of blend in into one at a certain stage, and I mean that in generally positive way, generally positive. But come on in, greetings. All right, so we got some people in North Carolina. What's going on in North Carolina? We're not that far from there. Nice, good to see him. What's up, Tasha Huck? What's up? All right, cool. Augusta, Georgia, in the wilds of Georgia. What's going on? What's going on? Oh, hey, how's it going? I was the wrong person, but hello, 7D1 as well. Good to see you. Okay, Desert Hot Springs. I really enjoyed Desert Hot Springs. I grew up in the San Diego area most of my life. So the entire Southern California region. I don't know. They say as you get older, the majority of us will inevitably return back, in some way to our hometown or something, or the place from which we originated, which for me, I guess it could be Southern California. Not that I have lived away from there for very long. It's been, barely just over a year, but I don't think I don't think I'm moving back there anytime soon. Not that I dislike it at all, but anyway, we have discussed the reasons ad nauseum on this channel. So anyway, come on in, guys. Right on. Dennis is in Knoxville. What's going on in the wilds of Knoxville? Cool. Let's see. Where else? Anyone else? Give us your current location. Did we see? Yep, we've got Northern Ontario. Hello, Verti. Did we already get you? I don't know. I just kind of roll through and look for the locations. Here we go. Boom. British Columbia. Hello there. Thank you, Stephanie Milligan. Boom. Nice. So you got the telepathic ping. That is a literally real thing. Thank you for bringing that up for the start, Tiffany Pertel. That is a literally real thing that I actually do, and it's something that everyone can do right now in this moment. When you practice it, when you work on it, when you open your crown, while also kind of remaining grounded at the same time. If you're looking for kind of the passage points through which we can open up the ability to send and receive, it's like the top and the bottom of the energy field. So you could even say you have like a flow, an even flow through, which for some of us is very, very hard to maintain. And then the other part of that, and like if you want to get in terms of like anatomy, which you guys will know, that's probably where I'm going to go instantly, because it's kind of the lens through which I understand. Maybe we could say it's the lens through which I understand the ascension process, which is a wild buzzword, right? It's like, but no, seriously, I think that's just kind of the way. But that and the heart, which to me is the most important part. And I don't even mean like the sort of spiritualized version, the Christ consciousness frequency of the heart, although that is a very big factor when you open up that energy center. But quite literally, the electromagnetic and what we might call like the bioelectric output of the heart itself, as far as I can tell. And the thing is, we're learning new things all the time. So please forgive me in the future us. Like when we look back on this, we're like, huh, I thought it was a mixture of openings within the non-physical body mixed with a physiological reaction in the physical body. But there's probably like 20 billion other pieces to the idea that we're becoming telepathic. But it's literally a thing that I will do, and I encourage you guys to practice it. How might you send out some kind of telepathic brainwave? How might you do this within your own way? Quite literally, take a moment. It's just kind of, I guess, anchor your energy the best that you can, which I've learned over the years. To me, that's a really big, important thing. I don't know why. It's like I have to feel kind of somewhat grounded in a place. So it's like I always come back to this little chair right here in this weird little corner of our house. And it's like really, really like let yourself get rooted into like the space. It's almost like, the idea of creating a sacred space, which is important. But a lot of times you're going to do really important energetic things or spiritual processes, and you're not going to be able to do that. So it's not like it's a deal breaker. But I think at least for me, when I've noticed that I've sent out things and it was actually successful, it's nearly always been when I was in this grounded space where I could take at least enough time to allow my mind to become fully quiet, which for some people as well can take a really long time. I gotta be real. For a lot of us, it can take a really long time, and I think that's kind of one of the reasons. Well, there's a billion reasons why they say meditate every single day, but honestly, that was really where I started noticing. Where, for those of you guys that watch this channel, just talking about the ways in which I would kind of remote view things, or the ways in which I would sort of check out of the human body and kind of get shown things, or kind of going going to other places, which, like a lot of the bizarre experiences that I've talked about on here. I think all of those most notable ones have been usually in some form of a sacred space in which I was intentionally connecting with energy in a silent moment, in which you kind of take some time to allow everything to open up. But then how might you actually send it? Well, I think that's where it gets really, really individual. I think in the beginning, what I've noticed is it's a lot easier to send an emotion than it would be to send a complex message, where I'm like, just talk, somebody randomly in the chat, or a great random person, Indiana, so thank you for showing up for that moment. You're going to be the random example. So it's not like you're going to sit there and focus on this person and begin to have this whole detailed conversation with them, although that is entirely possible. And a lot of us are going to have that experience. But, and thanks, I'm just using you as an example. Thanks for saying nope. I don't even know what it was in reference to, but anyway, thanks for hanging out. But and so it's not so much that you're going to be sending this long-winded message about this and that. What you're doing is you're sending it with an emotion. And so the more emotion that you can harness, which at some stages, it's going to be difficult for you to do that. It's going to be hard to kind of grab this big wave of emotion inside your body. It doesn't matter where it comes from, which some people might argue with, but I think if you're able to generate a wave of emotion in your body, that alone is kind of the carrier. That's like the carrier wave that you would send it in. And then, if you follow a lot of the healing work that we do, you could definitely tone and you can create a physical vibration. But honestly, the way I see it is I just kind of look at this weird web of energy, almost like a grid. And it's like, I kind of imagine, this is going to sound really cheesy, but it's like I'll sit and I will meditate and kind of focus in on what I perceive as, I can't believe I'm talking about this. Here we go. As this sort of grid. I don't consider myself particularly to be a grid worker, but I do tend to perceive this sort of grid, or this patchwork kind of stream and tributaries that seem to connect, well, literally everything. But it's going to be much more tangible when you can imagine faces or people, or you can place this intention. In this case, it might be through a channel, or it might be to a loved one. But you just kind of imagine this sort of web through which we are all inextricably connected. And even if it feels like a thing that you're imagining, that's exactly where you start. But lean into that, create that image within your mind. You will feel as if you're making things up. And when we start sending things telepathically, when you start learning how to connect with spiritual energy or non-physical energies or energies of the other selves, because most of us we're kind of like connecting with other versions of ourselves. But as you start that, it is literally within your imagination. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, because we have this weird filter, right? We have this filter, and it kicks in and we're like, oh, I'm just imagining that. But really, the imagination is key. And so allow yourself to tune into what you perceive as the natural earth grid that binds and connects and flows between all living things. um, Harness your emotion the best way that you can. And when you're sending a message or a feeling to a person, like I said, you're not sending this conversation. It's almost like you're sending a scene or a memory or a piece of an emotion. And the simpler you can make it, the more feeling that you can add into it, the better. But from there, it's really about trusting and sending that out. I know that there's been times when I have done certain things in great need, and I would quite literally ask, the guides or the spirits or whoever's helping us in that moment, please help me send that message out. In other cases, I've done a lot of toning before certain lives, literally, where I would sit there and just like, ooh, and just kind of like send out this sort of vibration. And then sometimes, it's been through a much more meditative, way where I'll kind of sit here and imagine this grid. But um, so yeah, anyway, thank you for that comment. I think that was Dana. Was that Dana that left that? I probably have the wrong person, but whoever said that, it's good to see you again. No, it was Tiffany. See, I got it mixed up because there's a Dana, and it was right next to Dennis earlier. So anyway, good to see you guys. I'm like getting all the people mixed up now and again, but yeah, the telepathy thing is legit. There you go. It was you, because literally it's definitely real. It's definitely real. You can make it easier on yourself by really, really kind of, I know. I'm sorry. I don't know why I do that. I honestly don't know why. It's probably a good thing because both of you are cool. You're probably nothing like each other, but you're cool in your own way. I'm not trying to be, weird, but I mean, for some reason, I got you guys mixed up. Sorry. It's a really good thing, I think. But anyway, I'm embarrassing myself. Hello, Jillian. Greetings. But anyway, yeah, just work on your crown, work on the root chakra, but also Earth Star. I think those two energy centers alone cannot really be stressed enough for people as we start to open up and expand the human energy field. And honestly, for once, not that I do this before every single live, but I did have kind of a day off here today. And so I did spend some time prior to this just kind of exploring or feeling into whatever that kind of realm was, or the energies that are around me. I was actually shown it's rare that I would be shown a place or something instantly, but I cannot deny, as soon as I kind of put the feelers out there in terms of like, what is available or what can be shown. And sometimes that can be a very appropriate question that you can ask yourself when you're going into a space of, I guess we could call it psychic viewing, perhaps. Or it can also be a potentially it could also be a potentially misleading thing, because that's kind of a place where you can get kind of caught up within your own internal imagery. So for me, it could be either of those. I have to be really open. I try to be really open about like the process that we go through of kind of intuitive discovery, because I think that's the only way you're going to get better, is if you're willing to go like, oh yeah, okay, I'm realizing when this happens, we get these results. When this happens, we get these results. What happens when, you know what I mean? It's kind of the understanding of the way that works. But I was shown a very, very like an icy place, incredibly ice filled. I'm not going to say that it was Antarctica. I would like to say that it was. Honestly, I don't know. But I was shown a place, we'll just say, and yeah, we'll just say this a very frozen realm, full of ice, kind of glaciers. And what was shown in front of me was this path that looked like it had been cut by like snowmobiles or some form of like very very large construction equipment. And if you guys want, this is one of those times, this is a safe thing to do. You can watch the left eye, and those that are kind of tuning in and working with your own telepathy, you will get, sometimes you'll get a really good internal visual slideshow, meaning that it kind of unlocks your ability to perceive it visually within your mind. And sometimes it doesn't, but it is they are reliable portals. So when you're really communicating with someone, you can focus in on the left eye. I know it's not like some like Illuminati, it's just not, this is not one of those like Illuminati signaling things. Well, probably that's the reason why they will signal to it, is because there's a portal that develops within the eyes. And it seems like the left eye portal is a much more developed one for a lot of us on Earth right now. But you will also get, the right side. But anyway, for those that are, opening yourself up to telepathy, you can look at the left eye. But getting back to it. And so what I was able to perceive very, very clearly for a very short time, mind you, was this very frozen world. And in front of me was a very well kind of cut out, you could see like almost like tire tracks of some sort on this almost bluish white ice surface. Along this path that I was able to perceive, there were what I would describe as like very large, deep blue kind of crystals, or is it stalagmites, we could say, that were kind of coming up out of areas in the ice, not unlike the way kind of smaller shrubs or blades of grass would come up. But they were like stalagmites. I think they are like bluish crystals. Some of you guys will perceive them in your own way. And as I was able to kind of follow down this path, there was what appeared to be like these sort of cave openings, but they were lower down, kind of on the left side of the landscape. And it was as if this path had been cut in between two kind of large glaciers, but it wasn't that high. I would say, less than 20 feet. It wasn't a very deep kind of path that was cut, but there were these, I don't know how many, but of several kind of smaller caves or openings in the ice that had been developed on the left side. And as I moved through it, I was able to perceive the right side. And in the right side of my view was a little bit like a cliff. Maybe it could have been a drop off. Maybe it could have been a hill. If I were to try to like say, it would be me like manufacturing something. So maybe some of you guys will perceive it in your own way, and you'll get additional clues about it. But what it felt like, and this is where it gets super weird. Get ready. This is where it gets weird. I'm being totally real. What it felt like was that I perceived what felt like a very bluish, silverish humanoid being. Well, I say humanoid because I could perceive what looked like kind of like musculature on its body. Just, how you could see, just flesh. And it's not that it was even, or he or it was even doing anything, but it sort of looked like it was like coming up like this, like kind of standing, almost like maybe putting its hands up, um, and that was literally, and that was literally it. And that was literally it. It was very much like, I'll kind of slide out of things as soon as I try to grab onto it. It's like a super vivid thing will take place. And I think this is a thing that will probably happen for some of you guys as you kind of open up and expand energy centers, and you realize that, we can very, very effectively perceive this non-physical space, whether that's me perceiving something in Antarctica, whether that's me perceiving, something on some other dimensional plane, whether that's me even perceiving something within what we would call a pocket dimension, which is a kind of an experiential construct, almost like this external. So it's not in the physical world, but it's this like shared astral kind of experiential construct, like a contained space, a contained bubble of experiential energy. And it's a thing that which is, I guess we're going into the weird, we're going like deep into it already, you guys, sorry. But it is a thing that literally every person can create. It's a thing that you create. We create them along with other people. We create them with big groups of individuals on the earth plane. Some people that create like a cult of personality, I don't know if that's the right term, surrounding even things like television shows or video games, in some cases are contributing to this pocket dimension, this sort of created realm in which certain things will take place and people will tap into it together in their dreams and all kinds of wild stuff. But it could have very well been a pocket dimension, I guess is what I'm saying. Uh, but it's the thing that anyone can do, and it's not like that's a thing that I will experience literally every single day, all the time. It's a thing that I think is available to us, and like certain things will be shown to me at certain stages, and I think it kind of bears mentioning because it's the first time that I have entered a stage like that, maybe in a few months. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, on it. Yeah, actually, yeah, probably since about August, which I guess isn't really that long ago, but it felt like around late summer, in which there was a just a more accessible immediate opening, where it's like you'll kind of put something out there and you're like, boom, shown something instantly. And so for me, I guess I've kind of learned over the last few years that when something is shown which with such specificity or in such a vivid manner so quickly, it definitely warrants further investigation. It doesn't mean that it makes it true, because I got to be really really important about that, because there's also a lot of like falsely created thought forms that I think we kind of bounce around and sort of pick up from each other along the journey. And there's times that those things will enter our dream space, and they'll kind of enter, that incredibly critical, very important imagination realm where we kind of learn how to connect. And so at times we are literally interacting with a consciousness, like, oh yeah, basically a pocket dimension. I'm going to a really really good example of the consciousness recording, or we could call pocket dimension. I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to anyone, but as far as I can tell, it's literally a created thing now. The Ashtar command. Ashtar command. I feel very strongly that is at this stage something that has been kind of created and sort of pieced together through a series of experiences that were very real at one stage, but it's almost like everyone added their energy into it, and a lot of people started kind of channeling the energy that had been created in that kind of pocket dimension space. And so as everyone adds their energy into it and imagines it and puts their emotions into a certain thing, it literally creates a form of it. And there's ways to do that physically as well, like to literally create physical things in this actual world. But anyway, I'm going on. We're just spiraling on that. Sorry. What's up, Sherry? How's it going? Was there something green and blue in the walls of ice? There's definitely something blue. I can tell you that much. And here's the thing: you might even perceive more. Probably you will feel into that space, and you will perceive things probably far more deeply, or specific things that would be available to you. Once again, you know, felt that it was a very accessible place, all the way down to me viewing this sort of being. It was like I saw it from the back, like I was almost above, and I saw this being like kind of coming up. And it sounds so cheesy, people. This is where I get like kind of like, really, but I have to be authentic. It was almost like it was doing like a qigong type thing, which sounds, maybe I just got to be real, but there was definitely a presence there. For those of you guys that might have seen videos of what I believe is the Euphrates River, there's these, or there, it was going around on my YouTube, I guess, or you know how it'll like come up on your phone based on the algorithm of your previous interests and a bunch of other things. But there was this video that came up that showed how the Euphrates River is kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Eroding? No, receding. Boom. It's drying up on such a level that these ancient caverns had kind of opened up, that had been submerged, I don't know, hundreds years, thousands years, who knows, just x amount of years, like really really long time. And people were saying that it was a formerly a prison for demons. And so I honestly don't know either way. I truly truly don't. But I just happened to see that video, and for some reason it vaguely reminds me of something like that, almost like this very ancient sort of place in which something had dwelled, perhaps, albeit I would say different, in the sense that it wasn't constructed by humans. It was like natural openings, at least to me. Like when I feel into what I think is the still accessible content of that moment, when I feel into those caves or the caverns that I perceived, it feels like they were more natural and not cut into the ice the way that the road was. The road appeared, it's like I could almost, I believe that one of the first things I noticed was that it was a road in front of me and it had been cut. And so I don't know. It's almost into it. I would be manufacturing things. So for the sake of just leaving it weird and awkward, yeah. Let me know if anyone else perceives anything. Sorry, I'm not even looking at the chat. I apologize. Greetings. What's up, Belinda? That being had a tail. Is that what made may it probably it probably did? That is entirely possible. I would say just feel into whatever you feel there. Absolutely, VR imitates dimensional reality. There are literal AI kind of, like digitally constructed, or I guess we could say holographic realms that you will also tune into, which is kind of a crazy thing. And one of the ways this is, or one of the ways rather, I'll try to keep it individual. One of the ways in which I've noticed the times in which I have tapped into what I believe to be a fully constructed kind of like digital AI kind of realm, um it is literally there. It's already existing right alongside ours in another, we would call it physical and non-physical plane. It was partially created by a bunch of people here on earth. We could call it, oh, it sounds dumb, but like in the future, literally people that are kind of tech gurus now. And I don't know if it's Elon, I don't know. It's like, it's not a thing where I can place like it's from these people. It's just, it's the energy of the discoveries that were made and altered and distorted around this period of time on another timeline or in another dimensional realm. It's like the same versions of them are here. And so we're experiencing a little bit of an echoing of it. It's like it's not manifesting in the same way that is in that realm, but it is essentially that sort of digitized kind of AI realm, like the fourth dimensional version of what the metaverse wishes it could be. The metaverse is like the literal zero density version of what this realm already is. In fact, it kind of represents a gateway into that sort of AI realm. And anyway, not to go down it, because it's a really weird, very tangible thing that you guys can tune into. And I'm not even saying it from the perspective that you should or that it's a good thing, because it is a very dark place. And I think it also represents some of like what we would call the upper echelons of a lower astral plane. Because when you tune into that timeline, it's like there's a lot of chaos there. There's a lot of really weird, bizarre, maybe we could even call it like, like if you want to make a comparison with like, things of our time, like cyberpunk kind of digital, really really weird transhumanist. There we go. Boom. Transhumanist. That's the word I was trying to say. But it's very very accessible. And one of the ways you'll know when you're legitimately pushing beyond your sort of kind of energy bubble, because you'll have a lot of experiences within your energy bubble that are kind of influenced by but not necessarily a part of what's going on within the shared density astral space. There's a lot of like kind of like filters, or it appears to me, because I try to keep it individual. Everyone's an expert in their own experience, right? And so as I have experienced, there's a number of kind of like filtered almost gateways and kind of these things that you have to push through. And as you learn how to push through them, they'll probably be individual for each person. you will come to a place where, I guess if you want to call it in general, you will begin to perceive and experience structures, places, maybe gateways, realms, beings, whatever it is that's kind of the most crystallized thought forms of the moment, or things that sometimes are locally available or linked in with your loved ones and friends and family. But you will start to experience those things in this way where things begin to happen very, very rapidly and very quickly and incredibly vividly, in ways that, as you kind of let yourself go, and there's a really important kind of letting go that you have to do. I mean this very sincerely. I wish I could describe how to do that letting go, but there is definitely this sort of thing where you have to like let go of everything and allow yourself to roll through this experience. And there's a thing that will happen where it's like a series of events will take place, or you'll view this certain thing and it will be so detailed and so out of your previously internalized mental vocabulary of experiences and things. Like for instance, when I talk about it all the time, it's such an old story. Everyone's probably tired of hearing about it, but I talk about how I had met certain extraterrestrial beings, very shamanic, like they call the Zulu, which is not what they're called, by the way, guys. It has, I would say they're more related to the Dogon tribe. But anyway, those sort of, Dogon type warrior beings that I encountered, um, to me, well, I just lost my train of thought. But to me, that's an example of when you get taken so far outside of your previously determined mental vocabulary, meaning you have no frame of reference. You have no frame of reference for like, and then all of a sudden this thing occurred, and it's like there's no possible way you could ever have made it up. It was just like boom, there it was, and it happened. And there's like an allowance thing that takes place. I say that over and over again because you really have to allow yourself to begin to move beyond the imagination. It's a very awkward thing. Maybe for some people it's effortless. It might be. Probably for a lot of people. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on out there. There really is. There really is. But as we unlock telepathy within our bodies on this strange journey, anybody can do it. Like if I can do it, anybody can, for real. But yeah. Boom. What's up, Mason Strunk? VR can be used as a tool to train I definitely think it can. I'm not anti-VR. I think, in like many places, you can have cool experiences. I can tell you that the only time I ever put a VR headset on, I felt so sick. Like literally, honestly, it has literally been only once ever. And I felt so sick within a few moments that I was like, hell no, what? I don't even care. I don't even care what it was. And I already felt kind of weird about it, because of the whole AI thing, which just, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're connecting with some AI if you're using some sort of VR, thing on an experience. I just don't think it's necessarily doing that. But, yeah, then again, I don't actually have any experience with it. So, you guys will see me kind of edit edit myself on the fly, because the reality is, yeah, I have literally only used a VR headset one time in my entire life. So, anyway, a lot of you guys out there are going to be much more experienced, but to me it does not feel that by doing it, you're going to instantly tap into some AI realm. Because to me, I think it's easier for anyone, whether you're trained or not, to kind of begin to move through that space and to imagine it, and you'll kind of slide in there. And I think that sort of cloud of collected consciousness is where a lot of content comes from for movies and things, that it's like partial disclosure, and it's also like other stuff at the same time. It's all totally available. And I think one of the reasons why it trickles down to fiction based stuff here on the earth plane is because we're experiencing it. And so anyway, sorry, I know I've just been ranting for like half an hour. Sorry, guys. Man, you got sick. What's up? NM Tumbleweed, how's it going? We got a little sick. Sorry to hear it. Oh, from the VR. Totally, totally. What's up, Alyssa Marie? I've never, yeah. For me, it's only been one, so maybe you can. I don't know. Like every now and then, I'll realize, well, you actually really don't know what you're talking about. You literally wore it for like 30 seconds and got a stomach ache, and so I'm. That's definitely one where I'm speaking on opinion and empathic feeling. What's up in Indiana? Yeah, VR gets boring. I just I do still play video games. I'm definitely not anti, video game realm. I truly do not think, oh man, some of you guys won't agree. That's okay. I don't think that video games will cause people to connect with entities or to engage in violent acts, or you guys, there's a host of other weird ideas that have been proposed for a number of years about like violent video games, and I don't necessarily say that because I was raised playing violent video games, but like I was, and maybe I would be an exception, but I think it's more about the individual. I think it's more about the programming that our kids get. I think it's more about like the awareness that we have. I think it's more about like the state that we're in, because as a person that has spent, and it's very very hard for me to play video games now. I wish that I could, because I would love to be doing it every day, but I literally cannot. It's so busy. It's kind of like movie and TVs now. Like I have to put myself in this very dedicated mindset in order for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna try to play this game, which I know I really enjoy, but it's like I just can't anymore. Probably a good thing, because maybe the programming has changed. But I would say one of the reasons why people get more negatively influenced by those, part of it has to do with the conditioning and the programming, both social, cultural, internalized stuff. There's so many levels of it. But I think also it has to do with the generalized kind of dimensional shift process, in that we're in a stage on Earth where if people, and how many kids are not aware of the energies that enter, or even adults, doesn't matter who we are, if you're not aware of the level of, or if you're not aware of how to be at least sovereign within your mental space, you can, I think, get influence. You know what I mean? Because you'll be so open, and you will see it with a lot of kids. My son played tons of video games. I was definitely not the best at controlling that, because most of the time I was actually playing with him. And to be truth be told, we played like all kinds of really wild, like crazy violent stuff that he should have never seen. Really, like honestly, I was like, yeah, maybe it's okay. We're doing it together, type thing. But honestly, he's totally nothing. There were no signs of negative programming or damage that came from that era. And so I guess we would say that's a sample size of one. That's a sample size of one individual experience. But a lot of people are going to have opinions on it. But I do think it does definitely, and it definitely will and can become a deeply addictive process for some people. Definitely, like there's so much dopamine, like literally you can just feel it. You don't have to be an empath. There's wildly addictive, like pleasure kind of like brain waves that will kind of roll through, which can get definitely weird. But I think in terms of negative programming that would cause people to engage in violence, or to connect with negative entities, I just don't see it as being a thing that I would need to be worried. I would be more worried about like how you're programming yourself. And anyway, sorry to go on a video game rant. Damn, I had no idea. What's up, Aurora Diamond Heart? Totally, right? Totally, dude. We played. Yeah, I feel you, man. We played a lot of, probably everything. Literally, that was all I did for years. Which is also, it's also not a good thing. I spent a lot of years in that realm. I might again. You never know. If there were any games out now that I was super into, trust me, I would be playing it nonstop. But there's just, it's, you know what I mean? It's not, it just doesn't hit the same. Maybe that means I'm getting, it does. Oh, that means I'm getting old. Sorry. That's literally the moment you're like, damn, I guess that means I'm getting old. Yeah, totally. I had a feeling. I know you did. I could definitely tell. I could tell. What's going on, Stellar Shriner? How's it going? Good to see him. All right, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I have a little bit of a weird announcement. Man, it's an awkward announcement, seriously, because there was a time when I would have sworn I would have never done this. And I realize that I'm gonna be semi-theatrical about how I'm explaining this, so it'll just make it seem like a much bigger deal than it is. Because I am definitely, if there's one thing that I think people know about me at this stage, is that I am definitely not one of those people that is in it for the money on any level. And sometimes that's a dumb thing to say, but it has never been a factor. That it will never be a thing that anyone said, "Well, you just do this thing to try to get money." But I'll just say it now that I'm already watch. I'm like kind of like digging my own grave here, but no, seriously. So I monetized YouTube. So I want to apologize first off for the fact that you will be forced to watch ads, although they were already there when I would have signed out of my profile and gone back to our channel to look at stuff, like when I've been out in public and certain things. Like I realized, I'm like, damn, there's already ads on there, and I didn't even turn it on. So I was like, what the hell? But yeah, so we did activate the kind of the super chat and the membership option for YouTube. It is a thing that we have activated. I don't know if anyone's going to take advantage of it, but if people do take advantage of it, one of the things we're going to be doing, which is a thing we were already doing, so it's funny. Maybe that was like an appropriate timeline choice, but the biggest reason, just so everyone knows, so it'll be on public record. Really, the only reason why that we're doing this is because we really need to raise money for Conscious Life Expo, which we're definitely going to be at. Definitely there. It is confirmed, which is really good news. We're definitely going to be there on in February 2023, and so I'm going to be doing a lecture, and we got a really good table. It's definitely confirmed, and so we're in the money raising stage for that. So what we're going to be doing, I think 2 weeks from this, so in 2 weeks after this Wednesday, or it might be on a Saturday, we're gonna be doing monthly tarot live streams where everyone can still get a reading. But for those that want to get like guaranteed, if you want to get like a priority reading, yes, we do have a membership thing that you can use, and yes, you can also do like the super chat thing. It doesn't mean that you have to, but it's like, I just kind of want to put that out there for anyone that, for anyone that wants to do it. And so, boom, I love you guys. Thank you, appreciate you. And so, the what we're gonna be doing is, um, we're gonna do kind of like a members only thing. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Cool. So cool. Now we know that works, because I didn't actually know it worked. I just kind of activated it. But um, and so we're going to be doing kind of a members only thing. I don't know exactly how we're going to integrate that. It might be one of those things where it's just like me and like, 3 or 4 other people. But the reason why I think it's going to be cool is because it's like a super low entry price to get private readings or to connect in a group to help to kind of ask, way more detailed questions that we might not be able to ask over YouTube. We can do energy work within various parameters quite well within those settings. And so I would like to think that it's a super low dollar option if you want to kind of connect with us on a deeper level. And um, you know, some people would be like, "Damn, why did you do that?" Thank you, by the way. I love you guys. Thank you, seriously, very sincerely. I have never ever been one of those people that's like, "Hey, you should do this thing with me." And so, it's definitely one of those moments in life where we will humble ourselves from time to time. And for those really empathic people that are out there, you will notice when I'm getting embarrassed, because I'll start stuttering like this. So everybody has a tell, seriously. But yeah, it is a humbling process, but I sincerely appreciate your support. And so probably about 30 days from now, sometime in December, we will do a little bit of a private session over Zoom For any of those of you that are watching now and will see this live stream later, feel free to join. And it's just going to be probably us hanging out and doing a number of readings and just kind of like, you know, talking about whatever you want to talk to. Thank you, New Mexico Tumbleweed. I love you. Appreciate it. Thanks for helping us out. You guys are awesome. What's up, Heidi Pop from Los Angeles? Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know why. I'm so hard. I am so like old school about like, no, I'm never gonna charge for that thing. I hate that. But then suddenly I was like, well, maybe I should. It's kind of one of the it's kind of one of very few options that we have at the moment. So anyway, that said, thank you for showing me that works, you guys. I sincerely appreciate you. We are going to also do readings today, which is the other fun part. But the other thing for anyone that wants to come join us, we're going to be doing another kind of more official Q&A thing with the Blue Flame Collective. That's Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. For anybody that wants to roll through. Thank you, Joyce Hartman. Good to see you. I sincerely appreciate you. You guys can find us at Blue Flame Collective at Patreon. Please do roll through if you are interested. What are we going to be doing on Saturday? Honora's going to be back. We're going to be doing readings probably between the two of us, maybe back and forth, or maybe people can choose, like if you want to get a reading with Honora, which honestly, like, man, it's just really wild. She's shockingly talented. It is a trippy thing. And so she is going to be there doing readings, and then it's more about like more of a Q&A in terms of like what is it that a person might need to work on in terms of their energy field. Because one of the things I do want to start doing a little bit more of within some of the live streams, and here's the thing, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, which is kind of why at times I think it's better to do it in a Zoom setting versus over YouTube. And so this would be a thing that we would do within, you know, like the member setting, where we can do a little bit more of energy field analysis. And so what would I mean by energy field analysis? Essentially where you will do a bit of a meditation with yourself and other people, and you will kind of move your consciousness through areas of the body. It's one of the ways that you can learn to scan people. It's one of the ways you can learn to scan yourself. It is honestly a very, once you start to learn the chakras and the meridians and just, you know, organ consciousness, which also anyone can do, it's one of the ways in which you begin to learn what needs to be healed or the energy centers that need to open in your body. So one of the things that I want to do in the groups, also what we're going to be, you know, maybe we'll be talking about this on Saturday, is how do we do this scanning process, or doing a little bit of it? Because the other part of Saturday is we're going to do a little bit of meditation. A part of me, and I don't know, maybe this is a maybe this is a thing that people don't want to do. I am not sure, but I do want to try to do a silent transmission where we essentially do this a more extended silent meditation, in which you're sort of just receiving energy. It's kind of like turning this really big multi-dimensional heat lamp up on everyone, and you just sort of like receive. And it's a deeply powerful process that sometimes works really well. But so this Saturday, though, getting back to the matter at hand, and thank you, Tim Williams. Thanks. Really good to see you. I appreciate your support. Geraldine Code Harper, thank you as well. Seriously, I really appreciate you guys. So yeah, we're gonna be just kind of experimenting with that on Saturday. But I guess to be honest with you, it's more about kind of doing the readings and whatnot. And so yeah, join us if you're into it. Join us, or you can come to one of our members, YouTube members things. That's such a weird phrase. I'm like, well, I actually have to find that. But anyway. Thank you. Yes, we do. We do have a Venmo. It is in the other descriptions of some of the later or the earlier videos. And so I will post it after this. I'm definitely getting better at filling in those little comment areas underneath the videos. But yeah, thank you. What's up, Bonnie Patterson? 32 words for field. Okay, cool. All right. Lost Words of the Irish Landscape. Profound book. We have that inside us too. As above, so below, so without, so within. Thank you. Think about how AI/meta is altering our inner landscape. That much, I absolutely agree on that. Does it have to though? See, I mean, personally, I'm definitely, for the record, and I guess, honestly, you guys will probably already know this. I'm definitely not a proponent of the sort of AI, like digiverse, even though it's a thing that I think it's accessible to all, just like you can still walk into a really, really shitty neighborhood in your own town. It's like, nobody's going to stop you. You can totally go there. You might not like what you see. And the reality is you might not like what you encounter. But it's man, it's crazy. It's crazy how viewable that is. And likewise, there is also an equally viewable, what we might call organic kind of, if you want to call it the positive timeline. I don't even know if I would call it like a new earth thing, because I don't think that's necessarily a correct term for it. I think it's been existing for, I don't know, maybe this opens a door for some other weird long-winded rant, but I think that what a lot of us perceive as being the quote unquote new earth frequency, which I realize as soon as I even say those words, some people are like, this is some new age bullshit. So, you got to create your own like relationship with the concept of what that means. I guess to kind of simplify, a higher dimensional organic plane that many of us are kind of working toward as the next step of our dimensional or physical spiritual evolution, the positive timelines, they're equally accessible. The weird thing about it, and once again, this might just be my perception, so please, this is literally just my perception. um there's so many of them, like there's so many that it's almost like when I feel into it, because there's so many of them available, that it's almost as if a number of people, or just, maybe we could call it the critical mass of co-creative consciousness. Whoa, I don't know where that came from. Critical mass of co-created consciousness. It's almost like it's still deciding. It's still trying to figure out like which timelines are we all choosing, because a lot of people talk about, like, when you go back to what was described as the looking glass technology. And for anyone, that wants to check out a very manic a very manic talk about my own experience with timelines, you can look at the timelines event that would just happen on the Watchers Talk channel, where he had a number of people to come in and talk about timelines. Frank Jacob was the most incredible one out of all of them. If anyone wants to go find it on Watchers Talk channel, legit. But a lot of people talk about, the ideas that came from the looking glass technology, or yellow cube, or yellow book, or there's like a million, you know what I mean, chronovisor, all of the forms of viewing technology. Most of them talk about, timeline one or timeline two, or, as if it was very simplified into it's either this or it's that. um and here's the thing, I am probably wrong, so I want to say that, or maybe I'm right, or maybe we all have a piece. But when I feel into that, it feels as though there are many of those timelines, and it's like on one side there is a very highly crystallized, highly controlled, and maybe that's why it's so apparent. There's an incredibly tangible, highly controlled, fully formed transhumanist timeline that's waiting for an intersection point with our physical realm. And then there's so many of these like splintered off, really incredible, incredibly positive timelines. There's also the great variance in the middle, like what some people might call kind of like the gray path, where it's like we get a little bit of both in these weird twists and turns. But when I look at the really positive ones, it's like there's countless of them, and like some of them appear as though we would even call what we might describe, which is weird to hear. Oh man, it's weird to hear myself say this. Sorry. We might describe it as a 5D type of existence. However, having even said that word, I don't think that there's really anyone on earth, myself, definitely not me, that can actually fully describe in human words the nature of what 5D consciousness is. I think that everyone that describes it is through such a limited viewing perspective that it's almost like we're saying, yep, that's a thing. We don't know. We can't possibly understand what's inside the thing, but we can now understand that there's a thing. It's like, yes, it's right over there. I can see it and perceive it. What's inside, we don't know what it is, but it's a thing that represents a exponentially higher state of consciousness. There's a number of what I would call incredibly positive timeline outcomes that I think are equally accessible as the sort of negative transhumanist timeline. But I think that because we haven't necessarily decided on a highly crystallized one in the moment, that I think a lot of people get kind of lost in it. And it definitely makes sense when you look at all of the, I guess we might call it false light spirituality and the kind of ET religions that are springing up. And I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way. It's becoming like this literal, like, anyway, every week is like return of this mythical being, and this new wave of incredible beings that's altering and telling us the true history of humanity. It's like over and over and over again, the stakes get higher and higher, the goalposts go back farther and farther, and you begin to see that it's part of the human mind and spirit and heart created literal digital false light realm that is an echo. It's an echo of real things, meaning it contains a lot of truth, but it's something that we're all also kind of like creating, because there's so many weird self-serving influences. There's so many weird egos. It's a trip. It's a very interesting thing to watch. And so I don't know if that has anything to do with why I would perceive that there's so many possible positive timeline outcomes for us. Maybe that's the part of the journey. Maybe that's a limitation in my perception. It's probably a bit of all of those. I mean, to be totally honest with you, because a lot of people will talk about, I perceived this when I, like remote viewed this place, or, how there's supposedly caverns with giants under Florida. That I know that's a recent talked about thing within the kind of disclosure, Ascension Space War Soul group, which, we're all a part of. If you're watching this channel, you're probably a part of it as well. But and I will say, I do not necessarily believe a great deal of what the people that presented that idea have to say. But in my opinion, and I will say this, maybe I shouldn't say my professional opinion, but honestly, I believe there are a number of forms of what we might call fourth density, or almost, non-physical kind of dwelling spaces underneath the state of Florida that were described, I think, in part by some of the recent talk about them. The thing is, I can't honestly say that what I perceive within that space could be described as the energy of giants. But one thing I can tell you that I gotta be real. I do believe that there is a very detailed sort of series of, if you want to call it, natural kind of underground placements. That some of them will be physical, some of them will be non-physical, meaning that there's like a frequency shift that a person will need to make. And I think, honestly, I have this weird feeling that it's a lot more simple than a lot of us understand. But I do believe that there's a form of technological influencing over your vibration that will take place, wherein, as that happens, places underground that would be physical to us, meaning you'll come up and it'll be a rock, then it's not. And it alters your vibration, so you're able to enter a different form of a physical space there. And I believe, honestly, I will say it, I believe that they're there. What's in there, I don't know. I wish that I was able to perceive that. Maybe I'll look at it on a deeper level. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's like, as I even say that, I'm like, I don't know. Does it even matter? Because I do think that kind of the existence of, the so-called stasis giants, or the, Anunnaki, physical giant hybrid beings that are in suspended animation in caverns under the earth. The thing is that, as far as I can tell, that's not that that's who they are, but that is actually there, and that there are many, many beings. It's not just what we might call some, Anunnaki giant, beings. Like, there's a number of them. I think that there are non-physical forms of life as well that are also in states of suspended animation. That there's a whole host of things. Some of them I think were in prison. Some of them willingly placed themselves there. Some of them are part of races of beings that will activate as certain vibratory conditions on Earth are met. And one very, very faint echo of that we've been seeing, you guys, one very faint echo of that would be how you keep noticing there's like all these new species of animals that just like, boom, all of a sudden there's this crazy bird that's like, how come nobody ever saw that thing? Or some, you know what I mean? Like, all you got to watch, now that I talked about it, you guys will probably get a bunch of bizarre animal videos on your mobile device. But you know, they keep on discovering all these weird beings out there. And I think part of that, a very faint echo, is this sort of advancing of frequency that takes place. And so anyway, some of you guys will know what I'm talking about. Some of it probably doesn't even matter, but I see some of your questions, by the way. Sorry, I'm going on an awkward rant. What's up, Joan Miniker? Do you have any rituals as you wake up in the morning or you go to sleep at night? Wow. That's a very, very good question. Thank you. I'll be really honest with you, and then you guys will think I'm dumb. You'll be like, what, really? The only ritual I do upon waking is I get up and make coffee. That's literally, I'm just like, get up, coffee. No, let me be totally real. I wouldn't call it a ritual or a process that I would go through immediately upon waking. But one thing I do very, very genuinely do, I think that was for Joan Miniker that asked that, but I believe it was, yes, let me grab the question. One thing I do is immediately, it's almost like the literal split second that I realize that, okay, now I'm waking up. It's like I will sit there and just kind of listen and perceive and just hold and just be still. And it's like, for me, and maybe this is me, maybe it's other people. I know it happens to other people because that's where a lot of like the last little bits of data kind of enter the body as we kind of close this door in certain places of the body, like these little kind of non-physical openings close, and we go back into the physical body, and there's moments where they're kind of open. And so what I've found is that there's a lot of messages that I've gotten within that space. For me, stuff about lately, it's been about like physical health and like things that I need to change, but it's almost like spirit comes in and they're like, hey man, how about this, how about that, you know? And it's like they whisper this thing into your body as you're about to rise. And so, you know, not that it's a spiritual practice, but it's just a thing that I consciously tune into. And then I'll just go make coffee. In terms of when I would go to sleep, honestly, none. Other than, you know, maybe I'll brush my teeth or something at some point, or, you know, normal nighttime things. Definitely not like what we would call spiritual stuff. But I would say in terms of like acts of personal ritual, which sometimes people get weird when you hear that. What do I mean by that? It's just like a spiritual practice that I would engage in like a reverent way. I definitely still do Qigong every day. Well, maybe not every day, but 9 out of 10 days. I feel confident saying 9 out of 10 days in a row, you pretty much guarantee that I will be spending at least 15 minutes doing Qigong. And it's not necessarily because I'm trying to get really healthy. Sometimes it's because I feel crazy and I'm like, okay, I know that this thing will create somewhat of a change or an alteration in my energy field. And I would say, you know, I've been doing it since 2015, and I think maybe 2016. Sometimes I try to be like very, very incredibly accurate, but yeah, I think it was early 2016, possibly. Anyway, I've done it most days since the start of the journey, and so to me, I would say that that's way more important for me. But everyone has their own set of things. Everyone has their own kind of processes and stuff that they will engage in. And I would say, you know, just allow whatever feels the best for you. That goes without saying, but anyway. Thank you for your question. What's up, White Swan? Daily practices are good to explore. Even just saying I love my body. Yeah, no, totally, right? And here's the thing. I'll be absolutely authentic with you. I have had to go through a very, very similar process as well. Absolutely. It's like kind of like, being willing to completely see and receive yourself in full acceptance, and then just feel what kind of comes in, which is the man, it's a scary thing, right? For some of us, because sometimes it's like you'll really, really like be in presence with yourself, in front of the mirror and really looking at yourself, and you're like, damn. And then sometimes, there's a whole different feeling there, but that I think that it helps us remain in presence. But anyway, I'm definitely getting really weird. Thank you. I really appreciate those super chats, or the whatever that was that we were doing earlier. Thank you for that, you guys. Seriously, I really appreciate it. Let me know if you have any other questions. What's up, Vanya Patterson? They want to eject the mother from the earth and overlay with their motherboard. Yeah, maybe they do. No kidding. She looks like the Borg queen, but then that's just my perception of what I see incoming. I'll tell you what, man, there's a number of, or what I would call like weird, kind of like hybrid kind of cyborg beings that exist in these weird kind of technological grid spaces where, I mean, they are very much. It's like the whole imagery of the Borg thing from Star Trek in the beginning, I think, was represented in part within that space. And so, I mean, that is one thing that has been very tangible for me, which I discovered years ago. On I think 2016, actually, be totally no, 2017 to be very accurate. I don't know why I'm trying to be like accurate with my time and dating, but within that year was an experience in which I just, in my crazy activated state, which was very bizarre at the time, found within that kind of some dimensional space that I was exploring, within, maybe my mind or a pocket dimension, or that sort of AI transhumanist realm. This whole literal, it was like groups and kind of colonies of these cyborg beings, and it was like we were still human but barely, and it was like this whole process of like constantly kind of like replicating and bringing things like sort of hormones and sort of things back into the organic pieces of the body. It was like we were constantly trying to salvage them and also keep like together the sort of technological aspects of the body. And I would call it, for like, at risk of like a super, super basic description, it was like a super dark kind of cyberpunk cyborg realm where everybody was like decaying. And it was like I found this version of myself that was there, that had been kind of splintered off from an aspect of myself that was born from this series of wars that I think were probably, maybe it would have been from like a World War II type of timeline. But I was able to kind of trace this weird road back from this weird cyborg version of myself that I encountered. I remember asking, like, literally, like, what is the reason? Why am I perceiving this thing so strongly and so intensely? And I was shown this process through which, like, this sort of man, and I don't want to take ownership of it, but I believe that I was shown one of the timelines in which my consciousness had existed throughout, time and space. And the sort of beginning of that cyborg timeline came from this sort of soldier person that had been through all these wars. And it was like he had incredible fear of dying. He had done many, many horrible things. And so there was a stage in his evolutionary process where, kind of like they're doing now, they engaged in this sort of transhumanist timeline. They were able to greatly, like dramatically extend their life by continuing to replace aspects of the physical body, and by kind of vampirizing kind of a number of different life forms. And it was a very strange thing to perceive. But anyway, the reason why I'm even going into that is within that kind of dimensional space that I had perceived was kind of like, I think it was Vanya Patterson, I think. Oh, I can't find it now, but yeah, I think there was like this sort of Borg queen type of being that, some of you, and sorry to go into all this weird, I guess this is kind of a dark one. Sorry, everybody. Some people could be like, damn, Matthew's really going on about this weird AI shit. Sorry. But it was very much like this sort of weird being that would inhabit part of this grid space, and it was bound to like the highest highs and the lowest lows. So it's like its astral body like extended all the way to the very top and all the way down to the bottom. And it was like, it sounds so crazy, but everything that passed through this sort of realm would have to pass through this gateway that was surrounded by whatever this sort of AI kind of hybrid hive mind queen thing was. And I don't know, I wouldn't even call it a queen, it might have been like a device, but it was like, as you entered this realm, you would have to pass through this weird gateway. It's crazy that I can remember this so well right now, you guys. It's wild. But as you would pass through that gateway, you would go through this sort of field of energy into this sort of AI kind of transhumanist cyborg realm. And that being, that AI energy would copy you. And I don't, maybe I should, yeah, maybe not enslave, because I don't think it was necessarily enslaving, but as soon as you would pass into it, it would make a copy of you. It would like instantly replicate you. And I wish I could say what they would do with it. I honestly don't know. I just was shown that they would copy you or somehow replicate your consciousness, maybe for cloning, or maybe to kind of like possibly to imprison you in that. I can tell you, it definitely was not a good thing. It was not a very pleasant realm to kind of perceive. And I guess it's kind of bizarre that I'm talking about these weird negative AI realms. Sorry, guys. Some people are gonna be like, what? Damn. It's definitely out there. But I think the reason why it's a thing that I mean this authentically, I do not believe, even though it is what we might call a very crystallized physical timeline that is close to our own, even though it is that, in my opinion, I do, and in my heart, and please, there's a lot of crazy empaths watching this right now. Please tell me if you think I'm wrong. I do not believe it is something that we need to be actively afraid of. I do not believe it is something that we need to avoid or be like, don't look into, don't stare at it. I think the way that we sort of make the choice, and if you want to call it the highest vibratory, place, is by being willing to look at it and go, okay, I see. All right, I get it. Doesn't mean you're going to jump in and join it, but it's like, no. And maybe it's grossly oversimplified statement, but know your enemy in a sense, know what's on the other side. To me, I feel that it's very appropriate to look at such things, and maybe it's not for everyone. Maybe it's not for everyone. I guess that kind of leads into that don't stare into the abyss thing, which because there's always a risk. You go into a weird neighborhood, something can happen. Something can happen, right? But anyway, you're right. Somebody said burn some sage, and I literally grabbed this little teeny piece of Palo Santo. But anyway, let me know if you guys have any questions about that. Let me get to roll through. Boom. Oh, what's up? Thank you, Heidi Pop from Los Angeles. Thank you very sincerely. I truly appreciate you. Thanks, Heidi. Maybe you'll even be there. Maybe you'll be there. I would love to see you there. It's good to see you. But yeah, thanks, you guys. Thanks, Sherry. Yeah, I agree. No fear. It's a choice. It doesn't mean you have to look at it. And, for some people, it's not even that I would like recommend it. But I guess for those that, are noticing the sort of myriad of dimensional frequencies that are available, it would be like not calling out an elephant in the room, because everybody's going to find it. Why do you think it's making its way into all the movies and TV shows and video games? And even like World Economic Forum, you know what I mean? It's like it's already made its way into literally everything. So we better figure out what's going on. What's up, Mason? Right? Fear is the killer. Totally. I honestly do not believe it's a thing that we need to be afraid of. But I will say, in my heart, it's definitely not a thing that I want to link up with in this lifetime. And I say that as a person, and I guess this is such a tired, tried, played out old like ascension, timeline now that we all talk about. But I feel very, very confident in saying that I believe in what we might call the timelines, or the experiential process that we would call the fall of Atlantis, which we all know by now. And maybe some of us don't. You're going to have a different perception of the way this dimensional process goes, but we are living, most of us, through the recreation in a different form of the fall of Atlantis, or one of the stages of it. And there's one thing I feel very confident in saying. Unfortunately, I was on the other side last time. Definitely on the other side last time. I am positive in the previous cycles of existence, I was hardcore pro transhumanist, whatever the weird spiritual technology was of that era that led to the demise of our timeline for a lot of us. I know I was on the other side at that stage, which I believe was the case for a lot of us that are here now. It's like the last time we did this, now we get to come back and do it again from this side. And so but yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why it's very easy for me to tune into it. I think that's how it is probably for a lot of you guys that are here. And let me know, please let me know if you disagree or if you've noticed a certain thing. But I think, those of us that had to work through addictions, those of us that had to work through great darkness in this life, those of us that had to survive great traumas, those of us that came in with what some of us call the maladies of the star seed. And sorry to even say that word. I'm trying to change the current lexicon and get it off of I don't know, maybe I shouldn't because everybody loves it. But is it maybe I've already said this, so I'll just say it again. Maybe it's an Aquarian thing, but I just feel like certain terms and words are incredibly played out. And pretty much every time I hear, starseed nowadays, it's like light worker, which is equally like, what does that even mean now? You know what I mean? It's become such a diluted spiritual platitude. And I guess platitudes may be more of a message, but similar to that, like a term, it's just completely overused. But yet it's real. That's a sad thing, because then you also look at the concept behind it. It's literally real, and that is literally us. That is literally us. And so, whoa, what? Whoa, my lord. Whoa, thank you, Alexander Tsutsulis. Wow, thank you, my friend. I very, very, very greatly, very, very, very deeply appreciate. Very, very greatly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Get a hold of me when you want to do a clearing or a reading, Alexander. I mean that very, very sincerely. Seriously, get a hold of me. Send me an email when you want to make that happen. I definitely will. Absolutely. That's very, 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 very deeply appreciated. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Seriously, it's like you're kind of making me emotional over here, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you. Vanya Patterson, totally right. No, it is. It's becoming like it's really easy to get caught up in like the spiritual terminology and like the whole, and it's not that it kind of loses its meaning. It's not that it makes it meaningless. And I think part of it is also my own tendency, because me as a person, I'm one of those people that's like, as soon as everybody else likes it, I don't like it anymore type of a person, I'll admit. So that's a little bit of a that's probably an ego thing. Okay, it probably is, or maybe I identify that as an Aquarius thing, and a lot of you guys know I'm like very, very low on the astrology scale as a professional psychic. But to me, when I feel into the energy of Aquarius within myself, I feel it as that, and I'm like, as soon as it's cool, I'm out. It's like it's already done. I'm already over it, and so we're going to try to create a different term, which probably won't catch on, and everybody will hate it. We'll literally create a different term for it, and we'll seed it out like into the soul group, and then a really popular person will use it, and they'll be like, so and so came up with that. But we'll know. You'll know in your heart where it came from. And so anyway, yeah, thanks you guys. Thank you, Alexander Tsutsulis. Hopefully one day I will learn to properly pronounce your last name. I apologize. It is. What's up, Valerie Smith? You were the person that won one of the drawings a long time. You won a drawing on the class that is currently in process. All you have to do is send me an email through my website. And here's the thing, only if you want to be in it. You definitely don't have to. If you do want to be in it, it's halfway through the first one. Yeah, we're halfway through the first one, and then there's going to be a couple other, because I think you won all three. You were the one that won all of them. So anyway, when you want to come to the classes, you can go to my website. You can see the schedule of the class that's going on right now, and just send me an email and show me that it's you, Valerie Smith, because you were actually you were the first winner. And so anyway, but you got to send me an email. So if we hear from you. Boom. What's up, Philip Robert Egermont? Absolutely. I absolutely feel you. I have a lot of kind of negative emotions within my body. I know that's a weird statement to follow up with. I am a person that, for me, it's not about necessarily physical negativity. For me, when I have negative energy, it's been emotional. And I am grateful that I have not been a fearful person. I've definitely been angry and resentful, like when I get negative emotions. But I do believe that fear is the absolute killer like when it comes to keeping you stuck. And granted, all of the negative emotions will represent some form of blockage within our body. But I guess I'm grateful in that I haven't had to have too much on the fear side. For me, it becomes more of a weird, toxic, self-punishing anger, which some would say is far worse, right? And we could even say, if you want to get, if you want to get psychological here, we could even say that underneath that is fear anyway, right? We could say underneath that is fear, definitely. But I guess you know how like you will identify a frequency within yourself, and you're like, I have a lot of those things. I don't know, I don't feel that one that much, or maybe I'm not in touch with it. Because that's another thing. A really coy person would be like, well, you're just not in touch with your fear. You know, actually, a version of me from 2001 would have been like, you just haven't gotten in touch with it in like a weird, intense way. I would have been wearing like a fedora hat, which now would be cringe. But in 2001, it was cool, right? You guys, let me know. You guys remember 2001? It was only 20 something. It was only 20. Damn, 20. It was 22 years ago. But yeah, I would have been rocking the fedora hat going, yeah, you're not even in touch with your fear yet. So, but you never know. Boom. It's okay. No worries, Valerie Smith. No worries. It's definitely there. It's definitely there for you. It's definitely there. We will encounter you. When we hear from you, we'll get you in there. And don't worry, it's going to be going on till the end of February. So it's like you're definitely not missing out anything. And everybody gets recording, so it's all good. Yeah, don't even sweat it, but it's definitely there. Where did the time go? I have literally, yeah, absolutely no idea. I was okay, cool. 11 in 2000 in 2001. Cool. How old was I in 2001? I was 23. I turned 23 in 2001. Normally it takes me a really long time to calculate my age at what age I was at what point, but I know because 2001 was the year my son was born. So coincidentally my son Bailey turns 21 this year. It's crazy. It's crazy to think. Definitely. He'll be 21 this year. Boom, right? I know, right? Oh my Lord, Aurora Diamond Heart, tell me about it, right? Yeah, let us not go back to that stage. Let us not go back to that timeline, right? Totally. I had a couple of them. Yep, Tanya was in college. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Whoa, man, what was I doing? Man, I don't know if I want to say what I was doing in 2001. That's that's a conversation for one of the live streams when I'm feeling horribly nostalgic and want to tell weird vulnerable secrets about my life, which is common knowledge for people that know me, but it's like, ooh, yeah. Anyway. Oh no, actually here, thank you. Indiana, I will be 45. I'll be 45 this year. Yep. It's coming up. It's coming up. It's definitely we are rolling up. I will say, and maybe it's clearly the aging process is different for everyone. What's up, Mason? 23, cool. Um, but I would say by around the time you get to 45, you will definitely be conscious on a number of levels of a little bit of an aging process that has taken place. I think I've done reasonably well with it. Like the only major stuff for me is like some it's caused some hair loss going on, but not it hasn't been that bad. You know what I mean? Honestly, I would say most of that is attributed to doing qigong. For those of you guys, sorry to instantly click into the qigong timeline, but it's like I will literally go to the grave telling you guys this. If you do qigong every single day, if you start a qigong practice, so many of the illnesses and the sickness and the weird parts of your body that don't work right and are just weird and swollen, so many things in your life will literally go away. I know, crazy thing, but it will happen. It will happen. I am living proof. I'm a living example of it. What's up, Omar? 26. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're all roughly in the same age group then. Totally, totally. That was a whew, 2001, man. Boom. That was a very interesting year. Wild time. Um, totally. Valerie Smith, December, yeah, totally. 30th of December. Alyssa Marie was in 5th grade in 2001, right? It's like ancient history now, lifetimes for some, which I mean literally it was lifetimes for some, right? I mean, totally. LSD was only 4 years old at that stage. That, you know what? 4 years old is the greatest age, man. I mean that very, very sincerely. 4 was like the best. I don't really remember 4. Actually, I think I kind of do. That might be as far back as I can go. No, I don't know, man. Yeah, but 4 years, really, really, really good age. You know it. Totally. What's up, Wild Mood Swings? Please do, really do. All you have to do is go on YouTube and look up Easy Beginner Qigong. You'll get 2 bazillion videos and just find the ones that work. Notice the people that are doing a thing that you can do, and just start doing it. To me, it's more about doing it and making it a practice like you do, like you're going to take a shower or something, whatever it is. It's a thing that you will agree to do daily, even if it's for a very short time. But yeah, it'll kind of reverse age you in a number of ways. I know for me, like one of the things it shows is like it's definitely when I don't shave. There's a lot of gray hair that will be available, but or apparent, but I don't know. I honestly hate shaving. The only time I do it is when I'm gonna see people like either on camera or in here. And so but anyway. Stephen Greer, India UFO conference was 2001. It probably was. It probably was. I remember hearing of that actually. I was not very tuned into the whole ufology scene then. I was aware of it because I had been, from shows like Coast to Coast AM, and just stuff that had been like a part of, I was like tuned into it, and I was very much in. Yeah, I would say the early 2000s for me was all about like the nuts and bolts UFO. It was like for me it was like the Roswell. I think that was pre Ancient Aliens, right? But around that era, which is where a lot of people are still. It's okay. It's okay. It is all good. Dawn Vibration says, "Do you follow certain qigong videos? Not sure where to even start." I don't actually do. Maybe this is not a good thing, you guys. I don't do any other. Well, no, that's not true. Every now and then, I will do routines from other people's channels, but I've kind of built one that I've been doing for. I think it's been almost 2 years since been about 2 years since we started doing kind of like a semi-official one, because I noticed like before I would do sessions, I would do a qigong process that I had kind of put together based off of a number of moves, a couple that I had seen online, and then a lot of stuff from working with Eric Rains, who is incredible. Because we did a lot of qigong in the retreats that a number of us went to with him a few years back now. It's a shame they're not happening anymore, but that's where we also picked up a lot of stuff, and I think he even created some of his own stuff. But that's what kind of got me started on just creating my own routine. And so what I do a number of things, which honestly, it's actually on our channel. If you scroll back through the videos on this channel, you will find one. I just made it public a while ago, from November 2021, exactly 1 year ago, which was the qigong routine that we were using for the training group at that time. And so that one I still do. I do a variation on that now, and I guess it's really good that we're talking about it here, because I was talking about getting a background so I can do a new one, just because the current place that we're in. I will just, it's one of those things where I just need to buy a background to be semi more professional in how I present it. Otherwise, it'll be me doing qigong in a room with a bunch of random things, and so we're gonna formalize the setting. But you're helping me actually do that. So I would say just do anyone that works for you. You can try the one on our channel, or you can go to one of the billion other qigong channels and videos where real people who are actually, like qigong masters and teachers. I'm not. I use a process that I picked up from other people that is also entirely intuitively guided, which for some people really works. For me, it is what I do literally every day. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, yeah, you can feel free to check it out. Um, Crystal Star, what's going on? I do Qigong for Vitality with Jeff Chand on YouTube. I would say maybe check that one out. Somebody was just asking about it. Seriously, go to the channels or the videos or the people where you see them and you're like, okay, I can, your energy, or just notice the feeling that you get from them. To me, that's the most important thing. It's like, how do I feel when I connect with them? And then, actually, no, I would say what's more important is what type of process are they? How are they moving? How complex, or how do I get drawn in by the moves that they're doing? You know what I mean? Because some of them will be very complex. There's so many different schools and poses, or like whatever. There's so many different ways in which you can practice this. It's about choosing the one that will work for you. And so but I would say definitely check out this guy's channel. You'll know, because you'll look at it and be like, yeah, okay, I can do that. Sure, really? All right, that looks pretty easy. And you'll start moving your hands and doing this thing and breathing. And yeah, maybe check out that guy's channel. Cool. Thank you. Oh yeah, thank you, Miss White Swan. You can find it. It's definitely out there. It's definitely out there. I got to do a new one. You guys are helping me get motivated to do that. Boom. Have these Qigong practices aided in the shielding process? That was my primary motivation. Here's the thing. I'm a person that doesn't do any shielding. I'm not saying that you don't need it. I think for some people it will greatly help, but I promise you everything in this world. I mean this with sincerity too. This is not me saying it like just like, yeah, bro, if you blah blah blah. I mean very sincerely. If you do a daily qigong practice for 30 days, your ability to perceive and deflect and guard against negative energies or just harsh emotions from people, or to even if you're unable to block it, your ability to kind of like absorb and deflect and deal with harsh energies and negative thought forms and anxiety in your body, and sometimes depression, and sometimes places physically within your body that feel built up with negativity, that will literally go away. And I think, to me, that's more effective than kind of creating this shield of energy around your body. Because as far as I can tell, and I mean, we had a really awesome person on the show last week, and she's very pro shielding. I think that's awesome. It works great for some people. But to me, and maybe I could be wrong about it, but if the internal container, meaning like the most prevalent emotional quality of your body, and there's all kinds of trauma and sort of stuff that's kind of clogged up within you, then it's not going to matter how much qigong or really energy work that you will do, because that will attract energies into your life that can create those reactions. But if you do qigong, it's not that that's an answer for like emotional things, but what it does is it kind of, I wouldn't say forces, but it naturally causes your meridians and chakras to go into a state of movement. And when it moves, like you'll come to new conclusions, and sometimes you'll feel emotions, and sometimes you'll feel nothing, and you'll just notice your body feels more open. But I think just doing that alone will shield your body. But just so you know, it's, in my opinion, I know I'm getting super analytical with your question. Sorry, Tanya. Sorry. I guess it's okay, because it's like literally the area of specialty for me. So anyway, sometimes I have to self-edit and go, okay, am I going on too far? But it's a thing that anyone can do. And whether it's a shield that you perceive, or just you doing qigong and sort of cultivating the energy body, either one will have an effect. And I would say go with the one that has an effect. But for me, I don't do any kind of shielding when I go into public places. But what I will do, sorry, as I feel myself getting like overly manic here, what I will do is purposefully call in guides, protectors, or beings that will work alongside us. To me, that's far more effective or appropriate, at least in my mind. It doesn't make it right or wrong. I just know for me, that is when I tend to feel protected. That's when I would feel shielded, not from necessarily my own energy field. in a perfect world, or in the most ideal mindset, I would be clean and clear of, great darkness or great negativity in the body. Like, not like you're going to be 100% clear of it, but you would have the least amount of negative energetic catalysts. Maybe that's the word I would use. And then maybe a very strong relationship with the guides and the beings that are alongside you. And sorry, I'm like grossly over answering your question, Tanya. Sorry. I'll just go on and on. But you can also do shielding, because for some people that really works. I will tell you individually, for me, the in the heart of my experience, there was a stage of the journey. This is very 2016 for me. 2015 and 16, it was like I had such a highly activated energy field that I was literally crazy. I was just out of my mind, all over the place. There were so many negative thought forms and all kinds of things that came into my perception, all sorts of things. And I realized, when I started doing Qigong, that was the stage in which I started to gain control over it. And that was the stage in which I was able to kind of end and sort of push out, or at the very least, keep those things at bay. And I mean, there was crazy, crazy, if you want to call it apparitions or projections, even if you want to call it some kind of fake thing that was going on within my, my internal perception. I do not believe it was, but that's what everyone would say. But man, I was getting this kind of stuff was everywhere for a while. And I think that that's a process that can occur for people when you get kind of blown open in this weird way, and you realize that there's all kinds of weird, dark, dirty energy around you. And it's not even that it's evil. It's just that you've been living in these sort of mindsets and these programs that were very, very negative. And I remember there was one particular thing. I was doing a group meditation with people, and I guess to keep mentioning this guy, actually, I think it was with Eric Rains as well. He was a part of it. I think it was one of the early stage meditations that we had done when we kind of met. He was doing this meditation online, and it was to kind of to clear negative. I don't even remember what it was, but it was to clear negative energy in some form. And it was like I felt a wave or a force of energy enter our home at the time, and I was able to perceive it so instantaneously. And it was one of those things, like I was saying earlier, when you receive an image or something within your third eye or your internal field of view that is so dramatically specific, and there's nothing that you definitely did not think. I would have never imagined such a thing. But what it was this literal wall. It was like a black wall of tentacles that filled up the entirety of the room. And I watched it come from the back door of our house in San Diego, California. It came through the back door of our house, and I watched it moving through the kitchen. And it was like I could see this literal black wall of tentacles rolling through our house. And yes, there was a lot of fear. I wish I could say I was strong and powerful, and I wish I could say that. It was not. I was like, oh my God, it struck fear within me. And what I perceived in that moment was one of it sounds like the cheesiest, weirdest thing ever, which is why, once again, it was like, who the hell would make that kind of thing up? What it was like this glowing image of a man, literally like this man in this glowing apparition, like this burning kind of apparition of a man. And he came up with this big broom, like a janitor's push broom, and he was shoving it back. He was just shoving it out the door and pushing literally pushing it and sweeping it back out the door. And I remember perceiving that, going oh my God, why, how do you, where does this come, where does this possibly come from? And what I was able to perceive as this being, when he was pushing it, is that I could see that it wasn't actually a real wall of tentacles, but it was a very small little black cube. It was it was like a little black cube that was on the floor, and it had whether it was technology or whether it was a being. I swear to God, I have no idea. But it was this little black cube that was just there in the doorway. I mean, I could see the washing machine right next to it. It was right there, you know, in the little laundry room area. Some of you guys will perceive like a little corridor right at the back door of a house, with washing machines on the left. You know, and there's literally this little black cube that was right there, and it was projecting it. It was literally like a projector showing this thing that would appear as though it was filling up the space or whatever it was. It projected as this mass of tentacles, and this being was like, like sweeping it out the door. And it was one of those things that just was like, like what? Like what the? It was a trip, man. One of those moments when you realize that you are quite literally perceiving things that are, you know, whether or not it's there is another matter, but something that is entirely non-physical. Anyway, those, yeah, they're definitely out there. But that was my life. 2016. It was not cool. I wish I could say I was cool and awesome. I was horrible and very, very scared. And yes, definitely. It was a black cube. It certainly was. Literally a little, well, you know, maybe it wasn't exactly a cube, but my perception was that it was a little black cube that was on the floor next to the washing machine, and it had the ability to project something out of its mass that would fill up the entire room. And it was literally a mass of tentacles that filled, it was like you would see it like filling the whole space, like like coming at you. It was, dude, it was crazy. Lo and behold, a few years later, in a session with a very unique individual, you know, I don't even remember this person's name, so it's not like I can, you know, blow up their anonymity at all. I don't even remember who they were, but I met a person that had encountered a group of beings that she claimed were reptilians, and she did not even know barely of the concept of such things. She had very little frame of reference for it. But she also explained that she had met this sort of, I think it was either a group of friends or a small network of people, and they had a little black cube that was a piece of technology that they would use that would actually project things over their faces or their bodies. And she, as far as I can understand, the reason why I think she was able to perceive it was because I think these people thought she was blind or perceived her as being blind. Because I remember one of the things she had told me about with intercession is that she had a very distinct visual disability, wherein she could only see out of certain fields of view or something. It was a very specific thing, and honestly, it was a deep honor working with this person, because they were one of those individuals that you'll encounter in your human journey that are so naturally tuned in, and it's like they knew exactly what was going on in their world. It was like they just needed to bounce it off someone. So it was like, it wasn't even like I gave them anything that they didn't already have. It was really just a moment to be like, hey, this was my experience, what do you think? And I was like, dude, that's some sort of non-physical technology or some form of, you know, if you want to call it ET or just a non-human. But she believed that they were reptilians. And she would see them playing with these devices when they thought that she was unable to perceive them. And there was like a little black cube, and it projected stuff over the body. And so I wish I knew more about it. Let me tell you, I certainly wish I knew more about it. I wish I did. You know me, I probably wouldn't have said their name anyway, but honestly, I think that was in the great wave of 2019 and 2020 for me, which is, I think at that stage, I was seeing like up to 6 people a day for an hour and a half each. It was very intense. There was a lot of weird stuff that came through. Really weird stuff. Things that are going to make it into a book, which I guess is one of the other announcements that we're going to have here, just so everybody can send some positive intentions out to the universe that I'm able to finish this. We've been putting it together little by little over time, but the goal is by middle of 2023 to hopefully have this book finished and put out. And it's a number of experiences and also kind of pathways and techniques to opening up intuition and kind of uncovering aspects of the mission. And so I've hinted at it at various intervals, but I think I'm entering the stage in which it's no longer an idea, and it's a necessity for advancing my current timeline. And so that experience will be in there, as is the full version of the psychic vampire. One of the most bizarre things I have ever experienced in this entire human life, and a bunch of other things that hopefully we will get it in there. So say a prayer, guys, that I can make that happen. But what's up, Haley Iniguez? Shielding doesn't work for me, so I just don't do it. I feel ya. I don't either. Never worked for me. People said create a column of light. It didn't work. People said create this orb of light and put it over your chakras. Didn't do anything. Literally did nothing. You know what I mean? When I started doing Qigong, when I started doing energy work on myself, however, that worked. And it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with the energy work. I think for me, it was the Qigong that enabled me to open up energy field in my body and actually create more of a natural defense. A little bit like having a super strong immune system. You know, there's a lot of people out there that haven't gotten sick over the past couple of years. I thought I was going to be one of them. I wasn't. You know, I got some crazy sickness last year. It was very intense. I don't know if it was the thing. I don't know if it wasn't, but whoo, Lord, it was a bad one. But it's, you know, it's a little bit like creating an incredibly strong spiritual immune system, in that I don't think that there's any one of us that's untouchable, but I do think that it is possible to maintain and cultivate the human energy field on such a level that will allow you to be far less affected by anything other than your own energy. Other than, you know, the keyword being other than your own, meaning that your own is the worst one at that stage. It's like, then you're painfully aware of all of your distortions and all of your wounds and all of the thought forms that you carry that, you know, are negative or self-limiting, which some people would say is like this incredible, you know, like, that's awesome that you'll be aware of that. As a person that is painfully aware of all those things, I think because I spend a lot of time cultivating the energy body, yes, it's cool because you will get a greater awareness of your own internal condition, but it's also very difficult because you will get a full awareness of your internal condition, at least as far in so much as you have kind of healed and advanced your own human spirit. But it sucks because then you're painfully aware, you know, or at least maybe I should keep individualizing it. I am painfully aware that nearly every single problem in my life is of my own creation in some form, whether that's me buying into it or engaging with it or avoiding it. And I think that's might be one of the downsides of greatly cultivating the human energy field, because it's like all of your shit will be so bounced back in your face. And I guess if you're a highly proactive individual and very good at, you know, constantly doing self-maintenance and constantly working on yourself, then it's the greatest opportunity. But I think if you're human like me and everyone else, it's like you have to deal with a lot of internal shit because you're going to be just really feeling it. And so anyway, I'm probably going way too far into that one in terms of anyway, thanks. Thanks for hanging out. The spirit realm was busy. What's up? I was doing some really powerful. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I definitely feel you on that one. I definitely feel you. There is a highly potent kind of shared fourth density astral space in which, when we're really tuned into it, like, you will watch incredible things happen, you know, in places like, you know, healing sessions or reading sessions. But, you know, which I think is a very rightful thing to say. I think that's a very positive thing to say. I know that for me, you know, oh, sorry, I was trying to, yeah, thanks for rolling through, by the way. I know that for me, it's like, I always try to be like, well, you know, it's a thing that we're doing, you know, together, but which it is. And honestly, I think that when it comes down to doing energy work, so little of it is actually you as the person doing it, not, you know, not to do that whole you know, song and dance, but it like really is, it's like this transaction that takes place between that person and their own guides and their own higher self. You just kind of open the door, but you will notice at times, um just the availability of that energy is much greater. It's just, there's just a lot more of something available. And likewise, there will also be many times, and maybe most of the time that's due to my own, you know, energy, but there will be many times also when it's not so, you know. We get to experience both ends of it in a weird way. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, you guys. Let us know if you have any questions. I'm like casually drooling on myself in the background, which if you're new here, that's a thing that I will definitely do as I'm ranting at everyone, but absolutely. Thanks. Let me know if you have any other questions. Watchers Talk says, perhaps in your etherical state, you were able to get a glimpse of this matrix. I believe that I know that a lot of us have. I think it's definitely, absolutely visually accessible in what we would call that fourth density shared astral space. Once again, guys, how would you encounter that or open up that doorway within yourself? Chakras like the crown chakra and the earth star or the root chakra. Well, both earth star and root chakra, those being the most or some of the more lower elements of the energy field. It's not that anything will need to be disconnected. It's more that something will need to be allowed to open and flow evenly. And so you can do energy work on the root and the earth star chakra and your crown. For some people, that alone, like dedicated work, like over a period of a few days or weeks or every now and then months, where it's like, you can do mantras or tones or just meditate upon it. You can do Qigong, and that will help you very greatly. But open up those two pathways in your body. Those alone can help you begin to perceive things within the mind's eye on a much deeper level, or even aspects of the non-physical space. Not to make it about just those, because clearly the third eye is involved. Clearly places like navel chakra and a bunch of other like kind of venting spots in the human energy field, those also have to be operable. But in order for those to be and this is just my experience once again. So there's going to be some very adept kind of energy workers that really have viewed the energy body and are going to go, well, actually, I think it's this and this, and those theories are equally correct. I'm just going off my experience. But in order for those other kind of back doors and sort of non-physical gateways to open up so that you can perceive something internally, visually, as far as I can tell, and excuse me as I'm like needing a tissue here, but my nose is probably running on camera. But as far as I can tell, those energies will mostly really only move through. Once again, I'm trying to be super specific. Mostly meaning you will still have energy flow through all of the chakras in your body, but it will be limited. It's like lights will be turned off, but the electricity's on type of a thing. In order for a lot of things to even kick on, the two ends have to be at least flowing and kind of sending and receiving and not necessarily expanded, but a more consciously aware way, which some people would even say, which sounds like a crazy statement, but some people could even say just being aware of your chakras and coming to the understanding and acceptance, internalization, even if you have zero understanding of it, but coming into acceptance that this is a non-physical aspect of your body and your energy presence here. For some people alone, just that moment where you're like, you know what, I realized, okay, all right, it's almost, once again, you got to give yourself permission, which sounds crazy, right? Because they're already there anyway. It's literally an existing part of the human body, which is one of the things that always trips me out when people say chakra removal, or like, the chakras are a matrix construct that are, here to mislead you and keep you bound to the earth realm and the whatever, the reincarnation trap. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I'm probably wrong about a lot of stuff, but as far as I can tell, that's literally untrue, and we're kind of describing aspects and literal pieces of us. And so for some of us, as soon as we open the door to, it's like almost like letting that frequency into your world by going, oh yeah, okay, that is a part of me, which some people, is weird. If you really wanted to analyze that choice, you'd be like, well, that would be you making a decision, to connect with that. What if it was a matrix construct? Everything's a matrix construct, right? We come here to exist and interact within that matrix realm. And so, anyway, not to go, I'm already going way too far into it, but just opening up those places on the body can help you perceive and just feel non-physical energy differently. There's still tons of work, clearly. And I know it sounds dumb. I'll say it. I know enough to know I know probably nothing. and to know that there's a whole group of interdimensional beings that are probably hanging out with us all on this live stream, and they're going, they're sitting there going, "Oh my God, really? They just said that? What?" They're sitting there in the 4D astral space going, "Oh my God, check these guys out. They're so lame. He thinks it's actually this and it's that." What? They're over here making fun of us in the physical body. And so just in case that's the case, thanks everybody. Give us a little bit more of the truth. So, um, thank you. What's up, Princess Mary Birdsong? Good to see you. Thanks for rolling through. I've just been ranting for 2 hours, and I don't mean that in like a weird disconnected way. I've literally just been talking at everyone. So you came at the right time. You came at the right time. So many lame false light traps exist like that. They certainly do, right? And maybe here's the thing. I think that every single one of us, as we go through this awakening journey, we all get to come to terms with the elements of the false light spiritual narrative that we've all bought into. Because I know I bought into a lot of stuff, and part of the human journey, at least for me, I think, is that we will buy into others later on. It's like everything is this, well, not everything maybe, but many of those key experiences and kind of stages we go through are like these consciousness gateways, where it's like you come to new conclusions, you learn truth, and you figure out what's true and what's not true, or you build these new conclusions, and almost like creating new pieces or accepting new pieces of a larger reality, we could even say. And many of them, it's like you have to go through it. Yes, that was definitely me spitting on myself that time. Sorry, guys. You have to go through it in order to learn that it's false. Which we're running out of water soon. That's a rare thing on here, but which, if you want to get technical, if you want to bring it into the realm of tarot, which for better or worse, sorry to say it, for better or worse, I'll go there. There's two places in which I will continually go to understand or gauge the relevancy of the spiritual world or what's going on, and it's nearly always tarot. That'll be one of them, and the other part is through some understanding of energetic anatomy, or at least what I have perceived within myself. And so, but anyway, we're getting way off track. We're getting way off track. Thank you, White Swan. Appreciate it. Thank you. Philip Robert Egermont. Yes, that is absolutely correct. Thank you for agreeing. Or maybe you were agreeing with somebody in the chat. So I should not necessarily apply it to myself. Yes, consciousness gateway. No, really, there's a lot of them within the disclosure community. Earlier, I was talking about like a sort of, your question was skipped. Put it back in there. Sorry, I missed your question, Leyland. I'm going to go back and find it. We'll definitely find you. But yeah, no, there's a lot of consciousness gateways, a lot of stuff. Earlier, we were talking about Ashtar Command, how, it is a sort of, I think it's a false light construct. It's like a pocket dimension that has been created and inhabited by the hopes and dreams and the emotional investment of people, that was born off of something real in the beginning, but it sort of grew into something else. Somebody put in the chat the energy of the eighth sphere. But there's a lot of them. I've said this before, so it's not even a controversial thing to say. But the Corey Good Sphere Being Alliance is a perfect example of a consciousness gateway. It holds truth and falsity, and the journey through it is discerning which is which, grabbing what you can, and moving on to the next story, which, like it or not, that's where a lot of us came to, the first understandings of so many things within our current realm that a lot of us have understood through other layers of confirmation as being true. It doesn't make, it has less to do with the messenger than the content of the experience, I guess is what I'm saying. But it's literally a consciousness gateway. And so anyway, from the perspective of tarot, which I will go to, those sort of experiences are what I call the path of the high priestess, who shows up in your life to initiate you into a new stage of activation, a new stage of experience, sometimes a new stage of your life. I just said that redundantly, but anyway, let's go back. Let's find your question, Leyland. You can hurry up and put it in the chat again. And anyone else, because the thing is, I will definitely start talking and rambling at you guys, and I will miss your questions. And so I know some of them are very important, and I genuinely enjoy them. So I apologize for the ones that I skip, because I know a lot of people ask questions, and I'll just be going rolling on this thing, and I think I found it. Boom. Hopefully this is the question you're referring to, Leyland. And if anyone else has your question, skip, copy and paste them again really quickly while I'm talking. We will be here for a few more minutes. I often have vibrating in my crown and it sends warm chills down my spine. Sometimes it integrates smoothly. Other times I have a headache afterwards. I ground myself regularly, but any suggestion? It feels like you're going through the very natural process of energy activation and kundalini activation. Um, the crown is like a big fountain or like a volcano for a lot of us. I use that terminology a lot. And when there's a lot of thought forms within the body, you might notice, some of that energy can be more jagged. And when it's just a natural occurrence, that's you, in my opinion, feeling the energy that's within your body and the manner through which you're sort of moving it in and out and then moving it back down. And so to me, those feel like natural sensations. I think that when we get a headache, um, I'm making a generalization with this statement, but what I've noticed is when I've got a headache from such things, and sometimes sometimes you'll not only get a headache, but you'll get in like a rageful mood, which is literally, that's a real thing that'll happen. Sometimes when you do a lot of Qigong and you have negative vibrations in your body, you'll be like, you'll get this weird thing. But I've noticed that when I've got a headache in those moments, when I've sort of been moving energy through the body, I believe it's indicative of a blockage in some sort. And what I tend to work with or treat areas for to relieve such things when we're doing energy work is around the back of the head, all the way around, all the way to where the vagus nerve is, right under the ear that goes down the side of your neck. And so you can put a lot of energy there, move your breath there. You can hum as you're moving that energy through the body. For some people, that works very well. It might work for you, Leyland, maybe not. For me, it seems to work, but maybe that's just me. But I'll do like a as I'm breathing out, and that might not have been picked up by the mic, so I apologize, but you'll sort of allow your body to have a very low vibration. It's not even so much that it's not even so much that it's like a tone. It's like you allow your body to vibrate and rumble. And that's one of the things that will pull the energy down. So I would say breath work's another one. If you want to do Wim Hof breathing, which is incredibly powerful, those will also move that away. But anyway, I'm kind of giving you all the plethora of many different techniques and answers. I might not be answering your question appropriately, but yeah, to me, that would just signal that you have an energy blockage, which is, yeah, it's definitely an oversimplification. Oh, cool. Thank you. I'm glad you could hear. You never know. Zoom and StreamYard, very, very different in their audio compression. Thank you, Mount at. I appreciate it. Sometimes I worry that I don't, because I'm incredibly stream of consciousness where it's like I have to pull myself back in and out of certain statements. You'll know when I'm doing well because I can do it and like pull back to the original, framework that we were working with. But other times we just go off in this whole other thing. I have been doing the parasite cleanse. This is day 7, maybe a little bit longer. Actually, yeah, no, actually never mind. I'm sorry. We are well past day 10 because I had already gone through 1.5 bottles of this scram. And so that's just the product we're using. Again, we're doing the scram route. What is scram? It's a widely available parasite cleanse. You can get it on Amazon. It's kind of low power, but it'll definitely clear a lot of parasitic activity out of the body. And so I've been doing that. Technically, I think it's probably the 12th day of that process. Which I've noticed a lot of inflammation that I think wasn't necessarily due to dietary stuff. Because a lot of you guys might recall, it's been a little bit over a month ago. Yeah, it's been about a month. I did another master cleanse. No, not even a month. It's been, yeah, just about 1 month ago. We did most of another master cleanse, made it about 7 days, and then really what kinda showed up in my head right around, yeah, it was right around the 7-day mark. Both me and Honora were like, "I don't think this is really about a dietary thing," although, well, it was in the sense that I was guided to shockingly reduce sugar, which has helped me tremendously, my lord. Even just walking around town, going to get things at the store, it's like so much inflammation has left the body. But another big part of it, I think, was due to the parasite cleanse. And so been doing scram, and then also because we're starting the new training group, one of the people in like the higher level training thing, we're doing the rife detox as well. So who knows, maybe some of you guys will tune into it while we're here. It's way in the back. Boom, way back there. One of those little rife machines is playing some really intense detox frequencies, which it's known as the terrain detox, which the first few days of it were brutal. They were brutal, man. Talk about crazy headache. Whew, it's like you get this headache that develops in the back of your head and kind of in your spine that feels a little bit like you have a fever, but you don't. It's like, oh man, it is a very particular thing. And so the only thing you can really do is just continue to pound water and just sit with this frequency. And it works whether you do it over, whether you're in the room with it or whether you put your DNA in it. And so it is a process that you guys can go through. If you want, you can book the Spirit Detox program on our website, which is where you will be doing the Rife Detox, and then we do a bunch of sessions over about a month or a month and a half period. Which for some people it's a lot of money, but for others it isn't. But it's called the Spirit Detox. You can do it. You can book it through the website, and for some people it could be a hard thing. It could you'll feel a lot of energy. Some other people don't. That's the thing. Some people feel very little, and maybe they have a headache because the other one of the other people that's doing it, she's been saying, she's had a couple of headaches. It's been a little weird, but really nothing that bad. And other people that we've done it with they've actually asked us to, it's been a very tender thing where they had to pause it for a few days and like, hydrate and kind of normalize. And it's weird because then, you'll deactivate the detox frequency for a while. And inevitably, after about, maybe 12 hours or so, it's like, you're like, whoa, okay. The headache feeling goes away. And it definitely shows you the power of the Spooky 2 Rife system. Because it is, man, it is no joke. It is no joke. It's both awesome and also, potentially difficult at the same time. Thank you. What's up, Mary Birdsong? The cleansing with dietary needs. I do light language baths. Well, nice. Okay, cool. It's the streams of light language washing over me. I like that. Thank you. Absolutely. Do what works for you. And well, we've never officially spoken, Married Birdsong, but something, your authenticity comes through in a cool way. I know I've said that to you before. I thought maybe that's why I keep saying that, because I keep noticing that. I'm like, I don't know. It's like I believe you. I believe you. Alyssa Marie says, how many bottles do you suggest? I would say 2, but Alyssa Marie, I am an extremist, and so you can just do 1, and if you want, follow the directions. But I know that for me, like the one time that I did it, I did a whole bottle of it, and at the end of the bottle, where you'll take about 10 capsules of it per day. I was taking a bit more because it felt like it was appropriate, but by the end of the first bottle, I could just tell. I was like, this is not fully. There's something is not all. I just knew there was more of something to go, and so I did the whole next one. Which I don't know, maybe it was overkill, but it was one of those times where I was like, I'm gonna make damn sure whatever, if there's some stuff growing in me, it came out, and it definitely did. You get all kinds of weird twitching and very very difficult symptoms, which I have to be 100% real. There's far more powerful part far more powerful. I guess it's been over 2 hours, so I will start tripping over myself more, but there are far more powerful parasite cleanses available that you can buy than scram. like a number of brands. There's tons of stuff. I think the reason why I went with Scram was because it was immediately available. And, I know everyone hates Amazon, but I was like, but it shows up in 2 days. I don't know how you just get it, because it was a little hard. I just didn't know where to get it at the time. Lo and behold, it was right down the street in Los Angeles. I just didn't know where to look for it at the moment, but it was just easily available. And I could tell that it didn't, it definitely worked. But the worst part about it is you will feel lots of negative emotions, and you'll feel all kinds of weird cramping in your body. And it's just like it's no joke. Like when you really are purging parasites, you're going to feel really, really crazy at least 1 or 2 days. Whew. And, I try to say it from a very realistic experiential point, and I had a very hard time, like, whew, a very hard time. It does. It gets easier though. Like it's not like you're going to be feeling horrible all the time. Like you go through waves of it. You go through waves, but anyway, thanks for all the good questions and comments. What's up, Philip Robert Egermont? This might seem weird, but a holistic doctor recommended urine therapy. It took me some time, but I do it for about 3 weeks, and my health and condition increases incredibly. Here is the thing: I have known people that have done very long-term urine therapy protocols, and they have sworn by it, and like really were incredibly positive testament to the idea that urine therapy is a very effective method of cleansing the physical body. I know that for me, and I hate to make it come down to this thing, but I will. I will be juvenile about it. I just don't believe that I could do it. I realize like I'm not a person that's really weird with bodily fluids. I've had people, I've had all of the fluids in both good and positive and horrible negative ways, but all around me. And I just couldn't. I don't think I can. I don't think I can do urine therapy. But for those that do not know, there is, it's not even like a fringe thing. It's like it's very well established. It's just for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that aren't willing to go there because it's for some people they would consider it a very extreme thing to do. But um, even from an intuitive perspective, there is a very okay. I mean, yeah, I do. I feel very confident saying this, even though I have not physically experienced it. Earlier, I was going on about VR, and I'm like, well, I realized I literally wore it once, so I'm giving an uneducated perspective. So I'm giving a non-experiential perspective, but it feels intuitively that there are very, very powerful uses for that substance or the therapeutic application of it, meaning urine. I just don't think I can. I don't know. I guess that's just me being a kid. I just won't do it, dude. I won't do it. You know. Cool. Somebody agrees. Okay, good. Okay, somebody agrees. But honestly, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Robert Egermont. Sorry, I'm so particular about saying your whole name. I am definitely a person though, wherein if I had a really crazy health condition and it was just one of those things where it was like I realized that it's not getting better. Okay, something is definitely wrong and nothing's getting better. I know that there would come a time where I'd be like, you know what, screw it. Okay, fine, I'm gonna do it. It's like I am willing to, if the need got to that stage where I was out of options, then I would be like, all right, this is what we got to do. And likewise, if you're stuck in the desert long enough, I would have drank my own urine anyway just to stay alive. So when it comes down to that being the last option, but anyway, I'm like way more over explaining my viewpoint on that. Some people, it's going to work for them really, really well. Yeah, check it out, Tanya Ortega. You'll get a lot of talk about it online. You'll go down a really weird wormhole, and you will get equal amounts of people saying this will regenerate and clear so many things in your body. And here's the thing: I have been close with people that had did long-term urine therapy, and they really did, and they look really good, and they did very well, and it really helped them. And so, for some people, it's going to be a game changer, but to me, I think it's really appropriate to be open to unconventional things like that. Doesn't necessarily mean that. Um, doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to work, but definitely drooling a lot on myself. It's an awkward thing on a live stream. Thank you for hanging out there, everyone. I noticed most of us have been here a couple hours, and I really appreciate you hanging out with us. I appreciate the super chats. Thank you guys for proving to me that that works. I really, I'll say it again. I actually didn't think anybody, I just thought it would be a thing that was on the channel. So thank you to those who donated, especially Alexander, man. Really epic support. I appreciate you, brother. Who knows if he's even still here, but I appreciate you, man. It really means a lot. Okay, question, Leyland. Have you ever remote viewed something and felt seen someone here we go. Someone viewing you in return? I can tell you that I have been out of body, meaning when I was doing that very dedicated kind of out of body training with Henda, who you guys can find on our channel if you go back through the videos. I think it was like May of last year we had Henda on. But there was a stage where I was practicing, which, honestly is probably also could be described as a form of remote viewing. But what I was doing was like consciously going out of the body, like consciously going out and starting to experiment with that process. And I'm grateful to say that it was very effective. I can't do it now the way that I was doing it then, meaning that I think I did not maintain the level of discipline that I think would be required to make it a literal everyday thing. But it's a thing that I definitely still partake in regularly, like regularly. But anyway, getting back to the point, yes, I did visit a place in which I was viewed, and I was, well, I believe, well, no, I'm not. I believe I was literally kicked out. I've talked about it before, but it was when we were living in Los Angeles, and this was early 2021. So I want to say like March 2021, perhaps. And I was doing, the processes that she was just talking about, and we were doing in these sessions. And I ended up moving through this kind of little tunnel, which is a thing that will happen. You will literally move through a tunnel, an experiential portal through which your consciousness will seem to move out of the body or out of this physical dimension. And yet at the same time, you can also at times just literally pop out of the body as well. That's another thing that can happen. But I've found that I was within, or not within, I was outside standing on the street. When I kind of came out of this portal, I emerged standing on the street in Los Angeles. And I remember talking about this on a live, like for a few minutes last year, maybe 1 or 2 points. But at the time, I wouldn't say where it was. I don't know. I'm always weird about like telling exactly where I lived. But at the time, we were living right at Wilshire and La Brea in Los Angeles. We were right there at Wilshire and La Brea, like literally on the block right behind it, just a little bit, 1 block southeast, and this little area. It was a cool place to live. But on that particular day, I went into this process and I came out a little bit down the street on Wilshire, kind of toward the tar pits in the greater Los Angeles area. Some of you guys will be familiar, others just, it was just essentially down the street from where I lived. I came out of this portal, and to my left was what appeared to be a bank that is there today. There's still a bank there. Actually, I don't know, maybe it's closed now, but at the time, it was a Bank of America. Only when I came into this space, and it was so vivid. Some of you guys will perceive it very, very easily. When I came into this space, it was dead quiet, and it was a completely vacant street. It was as if some of the trees were a little bit different. And that's one of the things that you're going to encounter when you do really leave the body, and you will go into sometimes familiar spaces that are known by your consciousness, but you'll be going to what we would call the kind of 4th dimensional version of it. And so you'll notice that it's kind of like a recreation of what you've experienced in the physical plane, but there will be key differences. And so when I came out down the street from our house, I was kind of just placed in or standing in front of like a Bank of America that was right there on the corner. Only the street was different. And I remember looking, and there was like palm trees that were just different. It was like something where you realize like there's something going on, like, oh my God, okay, here's a thing that's happening. And to my left was this bank door. And as I opened the bank door, or I don't know, maybe you just go through the door. It's like, I don't know, I entered the bank. I entered the bank. And what I realized was that inside this bank, it was like the 1800s and everything was wood. And man, it was so specific and so ornate. Some of you guys are definitely going to pick it up, but it was incredibly ornate, kind of like 1800s style bank, like this old West bank. And, with like the little kind of like a window thing or something, like a wooden kind of open thing. And at the end of the building, all the way at the back of the building, was this area that I guess I don't know if it was like a vault space or where the tellers were. And it was almost like there was this cage that went all the way up to the ceiling, and it was really high. It was a really old building, but sitting in the back of this bank was like it sounds so dumb, but here we go. Some of you guys have heard this. It was a giant, and it was this massive giant. I don't know if it was like human or not, but it was this giant. I think it was a man, like this massively giant man. Only he was crunched up in the back of the bank. And you know how like you'll put your knees up, and he was like crunched up, like kind of bent over inside it, like his head was tilted over. He was like crammed inside this building. Yes, experience with a giant. And he just looked at me and was like, "You're not supposed to be here." And boom, it was like I shot all the way back into my body. It was almost like he closed the door. It was like as I came into this giant being literally sitting in the back, and it would like immediately, "You're not supposed to be here." And just it was a wild thing. It was a very, very, very wild thing. There have been other experiences where I have entered similar places. There was another one. Well, oh man, I never talked about this one. There was another one where I somehow returned back to, or to me, what appeared to be a dimensional place that was San Francisco, California, Mission District in the 1990s. It was like I literally went back in time to this neighborhood that I had been in and gotten all kinds of trouble in the 90s, but it was very different, and it was like a completely different place. And there was all kinds of, it was like there was parts of buildings and places that I had spent time in, but and once again, it was definitely a darker thing, definitely a darker thing. But as I navigated through this space, what I came across was a group of people, and they were all shooting up some kind of drug. It was just like it was just, they were just shooting some kind of whatever it was. Who knows? Maybe it was heroin. Maybe it was some unearthly thing. It was definitely like a very different dimensional version of that space. And man, sorry to go into so many negative kind of imagery today, because we were talking about the AI transhumanist timeline earlier, but as I came across this group of people, it was, God, I guess maybe it was like I was floating. I don't know. I think I'm over analyzing the experience, but as I came across this group of people, that was another one where it was like they all turned around and looked at me, and it was like they had very, very crazy, crazy faces. And it was like, whew, man, it was one of those moments where it's like you realize you're in a space, and all of a sudden the record stops, and everyone goes, and whew, it was like a group of beings. Some of you guys will perceive it. I was coming up a staircase, like a stairwell in a very weird kind of looking building. And right in the corner of the stairwell was the area that's like a little bit of a nook, where people could stand in the corner of the stairwell. And there was these beings like huddled up in there. And it was like I was coming up the stairs, and like I could see their backs. And it was like everyone, and then like instantly boom, pulled out, like instantly pulled out, which was, honestly, I wish I could say it was cool. I guess it's cool in looking back on it and going like, okay, man, that was a really wild experience, damn. But I will say that at the time, and not so much that sort of bank scene thing with some giant, that to me was a very benign experience, where I think it was meant to show me that there was some form of this extra dimensional space that I had checked into, because there's a lot of in between stopping points within the elements of the astral realm. It was like I think there's many of them. Some of them are like rest stops on a highway. I think what that was, if I were to guess, I think was more me visiting possibly an element of a lower astral plane that was in resonance with a version of myself that had been in a similar vibration in a similar place. So it was like I was able to kind of move through the, dimensional framework and find a lower vibrational experiential plane, which, if you want to get technical, excuse me, if you want to get technical, I do believe for most people, when we start exploring that sort of shared astral space, those are probably a lot easier to find. They're a lot easier to grab onto, the sort of weird, dense, sometimes negative realms. Why is that though? Why would they be easier to find? Because I think that's the nature of like lower vibrations. That's the nature of the dense thought forms and sometimes the sickness and the negative energy on the earth plane. um, and so to me, I think that, for some of us, we might instantly go into weird ugly timelines, and it doesn't mean that those are the only ones that you're going to find. I think that for me at the time, that was also kind of a clearing process that I was going through in visiting such spaces where it was like I had to have a certain experience and view a thing, and it was like, your body will go back there in a weird way. It was definitely not a place that I had been, but it was within a realm that I had recognized as, oh my God, I've been here, but it was like a very different version of it. And um yeah, it was a trip. Definitely not a good place you want to end up. Not a good place to end up, but anyway, it gets very weird out there. Very weird. Everybody can do it. Thanks for all the good comments, Leyland. You've had some good input. It's fascinating how we astral project and see the same layout as the physical plane, but there will be some slight changes. Yes, that is absolutely, literally true. Thank you for giving me a lot of good things to kind of mention, because it is very much like you will find the same place but different. And so, sorry to go on to such this wildly extended story time here today, guys. Unfortunately, you'll hear many of these ones over and over and over again, and probably a bunch that I haven't talked about that sometimes I'm afraid to talk about because they sound dumb. But anyway, the you yeah you there was, sorry, I'm trying to formulate my thoughts after 2.5 hours. During that stage, early 2021, there was one moment in particular after doing one of the astral projecting exercises, which legitimately frightened me in a way that, once again, I wish I could say it was cool, but now that I look back on it, that was very distinct. But what happened was, as I came out of this experience, I opened my eyes and I was in our house, but it was a different version of our house, and it was so specific and so weird that it shot a bolt of fear straight through my body. It was like I opened my physical eyes here, which sometimes is a weird thing to say. It's like it was not me waking up in a dream within a dream. It was like I opened my eyes and I turned my head to the right, and it was a different room and it was a different table, but everything was almost exact. But the one thing I knew, one thing was the table was round instead of square. There was a different structure on the wall, like one of those wall units, like that was different. And I mean, it was just one of those moments where I literally opened my eyes in a different place. And maybe that's a thing that happens to a lot of people. I have heard other people describe this experience, but I believe that the shot of fear that ran through me like went whoop, and then I opened my eyes again, and then I was back in my house. So it was, anyway, it was a weird thing. I mean, it was so specific. It was like instead of a coffee cup on the table was a bottle of soy sauce. It was like I could see the bottle of soy sauce, and I was like, "What? What the?" You know how you'll get like this snapshot image of something within your mind, and everything is crystal clear in that one moment, and it's like, yeah. Anyway, I feel like I'm over dramatizing it. It wasn't like a traumatic thing. It was just one of those moments where you're like, "Oh my god," and like later on, you're like, "Whoa." So anyway, it's something that anyone can do. I've gone on for a very, very long journey here today. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for your comments. If you have any final questions, this is a good time to throw them in. I appreciate everyone that's been hanging out here with us. You never know where these are going to go. I wish I said I had a better agenda for it today, but it was really just to make a few awkward announcements and talk about strange things. What's up, Kimberly Rupp? I revisit same places in my dreams, like cities I'm totally familiar with, down to the parking lots, parts, etc. But I've never been there in real life. It doesn't exist in real life. You know what? I believe you absolutely. I think that if you're even one of the people that somehow finds this strange channel, it is because in your own world, in your own life, one of your experiences on some level is going to be the process of understanding, like, okay, I am visiting other timelines, or I am an astral projector, or I'm a traveler, one of those things. I mean, and so to me, absolutely, you're going to go visit places. And I remember people telling me about that stuff before I even knew what any of this was, and having conversations with people. And I was like, whoa, and it was like I could see and perceive that they were going through an experience. And, in hindsight now, I realized that was me reading their energy going, whoa, you really were going somewhere, not really knowing that's what we were doing. But everyone was kind of describing the kind of organic early stage experiences. And I think that everyone gets to have that. But, ooh, interdimensional back rooms. Whoa. Maybe it's a well-known secret, but man, if I could clip into the backrooms dimension, I would probably do it every day and just explore the backrooms, assuming that I could click out of it. If you guys don't know what the backrooms is, go on a backrooms wormhole here on YouTube after this video or some other time. Look up the backrooms. It started with this student film that was made maybe a year or two or three. I don't know how long ago it was made, but it started with this really shockingly well done organic film concept done by this one kid. And then it sort of became almost like a community of, like, kind of like how I was saying, how people will build a pocket dimension. People will build a pocket dimension with our agreed upon co-creative consciousness. The back rooms is a perfect example of that. And I don't mean that from a negative perspective. I don't mean it's like some false light negative construct. Although, in and of itself, the back rooms, I don't think it's a positive dimension. It's not like a dimension of love and light. That much is sure. That much is true. But man, back rooms fascinates me endlessly, endlessly. You guys would be embarrassed to know how many backrooms videos I have watched on YouTube. I am definitely an obsessive person, though, so it's like when I go in on something, it's like I'm going in. Like we're going in enough to where somebody will have to be like, "Hey, you've been really watching that a lot," or you'll end up feeling embarrassed about it. So you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe I've been, probably been looking at that too much." That's usually how it will have to go for me. Something will have to snap me out of it. But back rooms, man, I wish I could get into the back rooms. Watch famous last words. One day Matthew disappears and I'm stuck in the back rooms, wandering endless hallways. Look it up, though, you guys. Look it up. If you don't know about the back rooms, you're going to greatly enjoy watching some of those videos. Just make sure you go look at the original back rooms. It's embarrassing that I know who made it, but if you go to the profile Kane Pixels, original backrooms film. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Somebody said, "Isn't that descension?" It probably is. It probably is. It probably is descension, because I don't think backrooms is definitely not a higher realm. It's like an alternate existing co-created, I don't know, maybe like this sort of gray realm. It's sort of neutral, and probably, I don't know, if you watch most of the backrooms videos, you would realize it's actually probably negative. I'm like trying to make it a positive thing, but it looks like a very jagged, confusing realm full of all kinds of strange entities that for some reason I don't think they would kill you. I don't think they would. I don't think that any of the backrooms explorers have adequately, or the backrooms content creators have adequately explored, what humans are capable of in the backrooms. Because for some reason, I realize I'm going way too far into this. Sorry, guys. But for some reason, I just, when I perceive that, whether it be a fictional construct or a co-created upon pocket dimension, I just feel like it's not a place to be in fear of. You know what I mean? Like somehow I feel like if I were to end up in the back rooms, that I would be able to handle it. Oh shit! Right as I said that, right as I said that, White Swan says sounds like psychic training. Maybe it is. For some reason, it's like I feel like I would be willing to like explore that in a way that doesn't feel like it. You know, it doesn't feel like it has to be dangerous. Maybe that's because I'm perceiving it kind of like the Friday the 13th, what was it? Freddy Krueger movies where it's like if or I think at a certain stage, like if you're not afraid of him, he doesn't have any power, that sort of thing. Maybe I'm kind of romanticizing that idea where I'm like, because I don't have fear of that, somehow tricks me into thinking that I would be more powerful when maybe in reality you get into the back rooms and you just get torn up. You know what I mean? Because everybody thinks like, dude, I can handle it, right? I can handle it. Oh, cool. Alyssa Marie found it. I just saved a video called the Backroom series. It's brilliant. There's also a lot of Backrooms creators that do it. Some of them are very cartoonish, and most of them are animated in some form or CGI. But the original one was Kane Pixels. So it'll be a fun thing for you guys to watch after this live stream, which probably should end very soon. But it's weird how I will get oddly congested on these lives. Very strange. What's up, Cameron Mack? He says, "Are you familiar with the idea of inscension versus ascension, where you're progressively working to embody more and more of your spirit soul, maybe even your higher self?" That's a well articulated question. I believe that what that is and maybe these are just buzzwords, and the ways in which we define them is more important to the individual. But to me, you are kind of describing what I've internalized as this ascension, quote unquote, journey, which once again, such a open to interpretation term, whether you want to call it inscension or ascension. I do firmly believe in what I have observed in my own self is that part of our journey here as human beings and working through, the stuff that we agreed to go through in this life cycle has to do with the embodiment of the most purest, highest vibratory version of the self, whether you want to call it the multidimensional self, the higher self. Some people would call it the God self or the whatever. You can string any series of spiritual terms together and it can describe that. But to me, I think that is the process that we're going through when say we're sort of on maybe that organic timeline process. Maybe the non-transhumanist timeline is the one in which we go through the process of embodiment of the higher self. Um, if that makes sense. Anyway, to me, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. I think I would like to think that's the primary game, and there's a lot of others, but when it comes to the soul's journey, that certainly seems like a big aspect of it. What's up, Brooklyn Way? How's it going? Rolling through the multi-dimensional trailer park. Unfortunately, it was right as we're rolling out the door, but anyway, let me know if you guys have any other questions. Vanya Patterson says, here in Albion, we would call those realms. Definitely. You probably do. Probably a lot of us have been in other lives together. I mean that sincerely. I'm being very, very real. A lot of us have done a lot of lives together, and there's certain points where we'll come back and you'll intersect with people in weird ways. And some people will be like, I don't know. So I don't know you, but I know you. We've done it. We've all done this before. And yes, that is also a very commonly, thrown around kind of new age idea. If you want to put labels on it, a lot of people are like, it's all past lives and we do it again. Not kind of, as far as I can tell, we quite literally do. And we're at the stage on Earth. This is an opinion and also, I think, an experience where most of the notable reactions, most of the kind of the moments where it's like you have these sort of either like an epiphany or a meaningful interaction that you would have with a person. I think the majority of those, by my viewing, are at this stage of the game, these are all people that we've done this before, at least the ones that come into our life in a meaningful way. And it doesn't mean they're there forever. Some of the people we were friends with in third grade, we've done third grade with lifetime after lifetime. Doesn't mean we go beyond third grade, but you'll do some time with so-and-so here and there. But I think when you get to this stage now, where we are cognizantly aware. And I would say if you're here on this live stream, you're part of the population that's cognizantly aware that there's a greater mission or a purpose or a function behind your physical human life. You know what I mean? More so than the third density life cycle. So to me, if you're here in this moment, hell yeah, we've done it before. We've definitely done it. Anyway, I can barely breathe. Some of you guys will notice that, and it'll be embarrassing. We're at the end of the water, which means we're at the end of our live stream. It's an unfortunate thing, but we're going to be coming back in the coming weeks. We're going to be doing a tarot live stream, I believe, next Wednesday. And so for those of you guys that want to roll through, we're going to be doing free readings for everyone because Wednesday is a good day for me to do shows. Sorry. So we do them Wednesdays and Saturday. So Wednesday coming up, we're going to do a tarot live stream. Everyone can get readings that's there. Yes, unfortunately, because we're forced to monetize YouTube. You know, people that will put in a super chat will get a priority reading. You know what I mean? So we're definitely going to do that. You can also become a member, and we're going to be working out a way to do a monthly gathering where we do a more detailed version of that for the people on YouTube. So do feel free to join us, but we're going to continue to do it for free anyway. So don't anyone think that there's some sort of a paywall that you have to engage in on YouTube to continue to be a part of our live streams. I'm a person that hates that kind of stuff, and so we keep it to a minimum. But those that want to engage on a deeper level, you can greatly help us by doing that as we try to raise $5,000 to get to Conscious Life Expo, which we're in there and we're going to be there. And I will be live streaming it myself. They don't necessarily do it. I don't know if they're doing a live stream there, but I will be live streaming my talk from there. So you guys will get to watch it on YouTube. But for those of you guys that can be there, the tickets are on sale, and it looks like it's going to be an awesome thing. So if you're going to be in the Los Angeles area in February of 2023, please do come join us. I'm greatly honored to be there. We got a really good spot. So you can help me by kind of, you know, for those of you guys that do want to become members, or you can book a session, or there's a number of ways, but I really appreciate everyone helping us manifest that timeline last week. It is definitely coming together. So I appreciate the efforts of everyone that was here. And so in the meantime, though, we're going to be in the Patreon group on Saturday where Nora's going to be with me. As you guys know, we're going to be doing our process this Saturday. And of course, it's kind of like the big end of the year event, at least for me and a number of other people, is Starseed Adventures Conference, which, you know, I got to mention it because this is going to be the only place to find us in person. Yeah, until February. And so I'm crossing my fingers that everything goes as planned, but that's December 11th through 16th out there in Sedona, Arizona. So you guys can go to Starseed Adventures, which you'll already know. If you've been watching this channel, you're like, I know, dude, I know. You've told us 100 times, but that's where you will find us in person in December. It's gonna be very cool. This is our website, Philip Robert Edgermont. This is our website right here, rememberyourmission.com. Thank you, White Swan, for being here and doing and putting all these links out there constantly. Seriously, thank you. Appreciate you. And Aurora as well. Boom, there it is. Aurora Diamond Heart's also going to be speaking and being a part of, or in some form or fashion, an official participant in the Starseed Adventures Gathering Conference, whatever you want to call it. And so please do join us. If you see that out there, your heart might get called to Sedona, Arizona. And so anyway, thank you for hanging out, you guys. I'm at the stage where I'm in this horrible state of congestion, which is interesting how that goes. Maybe that's the process of receiving a lot of energy and stuff will get kind of caught up in certain areas. But yeah, thank you to everyone that's been hanging out. We're going to be back in a week. We'll see some of you guys on Saturday. And we do have some other guests coming up. It's in the works. I had to kind of take a little bit of a break of it. So you won't see us this Saturday on YouTube. We're going to be on Zoom. But we will be back on Wednesday. So roll through on Wednesday. And anyway, I'm lingering on the way out the door. That's the thing that a lot of us do. But thanks for hanging out with us. Once again, thank you. It's very sincerely. All those of you guys that donated via super chat, everybody, Alexander Tsutsulis as well. Really, really appreciate you guys. Thanks for showing me that works. And thank you for helping me and Honora feel appreciated. And it means so much to me. And so cool. Anyway, I love you guys. We're We're going to get out of here. Stay out of trouble.